Part 93. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 924. Send away the company. Claxton lived in the governor's house from then on. It was only a few days before Christmas. The town hall had been decorated a few days ago. Sugu had also selected the Christmas gifts prepared for everyone. They were all placed in the warehouse. A large part of them relied on Lexington and reputation. Wait for help. Anyway, Christmas is here in no time. Then this Christmas, to be honest, Sugu was very unhappy. Of course it was just verbal. Although he kept saying that he regarded himself as a Christmas gift and gave it to his sister-in-law Saratoga on Christmas Eve, he just thought about it in his heart. How could he do such a thing? At first, I was still thinking that the first time was a failure, but the second time could work. However, the result was a bit regretful. After the gifts were distributed on Christmas Eve, Sugu did not see Sarah in the red Christmas dress in the room. Toga, I don't know why I didn't come. It could be shyness or something else. In addition, Baizai did not come. The reason was most likely due to her sister Bismarck, or it could also be said to be due to herself. Kat, you know what your sister gave me for Christmas. It can't be a notebook. Bismarck naturally knew what his sister was, even if he thought the worst. It was even beyond his imagination countless times. No, it's not a notebook. In those notebooks she drew, you and Prince Eugen bullied Hood or Rodney and Ark Royal held you down, or you and Prince Eugen Lily only completed half of it. Now secretly hiding in the draft means that the most dangerous place is the safest place. She took herself as a Christmas gift. Bismarck was a wedding ship, and he stayed in her room quite a few times every month. When we hugged each other and chatted, it was natural that she couldn't help but bring up things about the North House. I remember that she was very angry at the time. She got up out of bed at night and wanted to go to Bazai to settle the score. After all, this kind of thing was too shameful, so it took a lot of effort to hold her back. There is another reason for being unhappy. The second daughter, Kaio, and the little devil Aviel, none of them. I remember that Andrea and Kamichia said several times that they would wrap you in a ribbon and give it to the Admiral as a gift. Sugu has heard too much and waited too long, but he has never given up. However, there is no Christmas. Thinking about it, there really is no more. He has to lament that the world is declining and people's hearts are not as old as they used to be. All in all, there wasn't much to note about Christmas, it just passed normally. Among them, the company did not come, but the Colossus came. The nagging girl told the little Lolita a story. She was so wet that she only told a short story for an hour and it was not finished. The eunuch killed many little Lolita. Plan M was invited and kept saying that there would be no snow on Christmas and wanted to go skiing. Reindeer Fantasy and Walk Erland, Reindeer Trust, and Firefly are the highlights. Christmas is over, and New Year's Day is here in a few days. For the Japanese, it's New Year. Did Suguben plan to keep the mansion busy? King Yi, now you have a chance to bully Quincy openly. King Yi immediately became excited. Admiral, what do you mean? Quincy is easy to bully, even little girls can bully her, but her sister New Orleans, who is always by her side, is not easy to bully. In the governor's house, the American forces are the most powerful, not as funny as Hood. Of course, the Prince of Wales and the Lion are still if you can take advantage of it. Washington is quite cruel. It is rare for Aoba to find a chance to bully her. It is better to say that he has no chance. What will happen to Kohaku Yuta? If I win, can I hit her hard on the head with a French baguette, beat her so hard, beat her head all over, and then force her to wear a cow costume, feed her grass, and cut her with Quincy? The grass machine is here, and I don't give her food for a day, but I have to tie her to a chair and eat delicious food in front of her, but don't give her anything to eat. This can be done. No, Absolutely not. New Orleans emerged from nowhere, a maniac looking after his sister. In the end, there was still no red and white singing party. Everyone could play as they wished. Some people prayed at the shrine, some slept in bed, and some invited people to the cafeteria. Sugu held a small house in his left hand and a little girl in his right hand. It was a pity that he spent a long time shopping in Chuangziu. I didn't meet a familiar admiral, and I felt a little uncomfortable without showing off. More than half of January has passed. Although there are not many days in total, it is almost a month in total. After continuous efforts, it turned out that the little Lolita was still easier to deal with. She looked like a zeppelin. It took almost a year to get to the town hall, not to mention the company. Sugu finally obtained clerks. With Dun's approval and becoming her admiral, her favorability is at most 50. Even so, he saw the true power of love brain Claxton, how terrifying it was, the kind that absolutely no one could survive. Admiral, from today on, I am yours. Hearing these words that were like a confession and a vow, Sugu was really intoxicated. It was a matter of course that the little girl did not want to be a bride or get a ring, but she was completely unconscious and did not realize the seriousness of this sentence. She was a little bit stupid, but he still knew it. What's more, is there anything more egregious? In the morning of this day, Sugu saw Claxton drawing on the desk. Don't ask why he was in the little Loli's dormitory. Claxton, what are you drawing? Little Beaver, Claxton said, holding up the drawing board with a cartoon little beaver on it. Sugu naturally praised it and said, it's a good painting. It's not good at all, Claxton said. It's much worse than Sister Richelieu, Sister Bazai, and Sister Leipzig. Claxton likes to draw. Except when he is in class, he spends most of his time in the dormitory or the studio drawing. His level is definitely excellent among little girls. No one is his rival. But compared to Richelieu, or out of this book is really not good for Bazai, which has a lot of sales. Sugu said, you can't compare to them now, but you are still young and have plenty of opportunities. If you take it step by step, you will definitely surpass them in the future. Then I have to work hard, Claxton said and threw himself on the desk again. Before he could draw 2 strokes, he became frustrated. I asked Sister Bazai, how do you draw so well? Do you work hard every day to draw, painting? She told me that talent is talent. Woo, I have no talent. Sugu grinned at his teeth. The guy in Bazai was spreading so much negative energy that he couldn't be beaten. He thought for a moment and said, has Claxton ever heard of the story of Da Vinci and 1,000 eggs? The story of the president chopping down cherry trees when he was a child must be a fabrication, as must Edison saving his mother, and Leonardo da Vinci painting eggs is certainly no exception. However, the purpose of these stories is to use celebrities to let children know about hard work, diligence, effort, sincerity, etc., and then cultivate a correct outlook on life. Children are a blank slate. As for growing up and knowing the truth, an adult should not be so psychologically fragile that he doubts his life. The worst he can do is just laugh it off. Anyway, Sugu told the story, and all he heard was Claxton holding a paintbrush and saying, I have decided, I like admirals the most. I will paint 1,000 admirals. His heart was beating so hard that Sugu almost couldn't breathe. Sister Doctor, come quickly. Without the bald eagle Belmacan, Dumpling Essex is often bullied. After being cheated in another game, you tie your white hair into braids and wear a white nurse uniform. You are really an angel in white, so it's you. But then again, it would be a bit of a stretch to say that Claxton has no rivals. That afternoon, Sugu returned to the office and saw Phelps. The girl had a blue feather hair ornament on her forehead and her mid-length flaxen hair was draped over her shoulders. Since she accidentally mentioned it once, she never had it again. I tied my hair up and pinned it with hairpins. I was arranging my desk for myself. I folded the documents neatly, put the scattered pens into the pen holder, and screwed on the cap of the open ink bottle. Phelps is here again? No need to bother. No trouble. Phelps shook his head. After helping the Admiral so much, what reward does Phelps want? You can't say you don't want it, you must get one. Phelps smiled sweetly, bathing in the sunshine like an angel. The Admiral's smile is Phelps's best reward. Sugu couldn't help himself. He saw a plate of cookies placed on the coffee table. Although he already had the answer in his heart, he asked, "Did Phelps bring it?" Phelps put his hands behind his back, lowered his head, and rubbed the ground with his toes uneasily, and replied, "Phelps tried to make some snacks and wanted Admiral to try them. The taste may not be very good." Sugu took a piece and bit off half of it in one bite. It was quite soft, just like what he liked. He said, "Phelps is so humble. It tastes so good." "As long as you like it," Admiral Phelps said, pouring another black tea and placing it in front of Sugu. Until someone walked into the office and Phelps excused herself and left, as she did every time. Sugu saw the visitor greeting him and said, "Have a taste." "Phelps brought it?" Sugu couldn't help but think that Claxton was great, but Phelps was not bad at all, but this girl seemed to have a little more scheming. Sugu is not an idiot, so he can naturally see it. Several times, the girl visited the spot in advance and pretended to be a chance encounter. Regardless of the starry sky, the sea, or comics, as long as she expressed her interest, she would definitely like it. Let's just say that I am self-righteous. Many people can see clearly and have mentioned it more than once that Phelps is really a father. Andrea is a daughter, but her main attribute is Ellie. No different than CV-16, this time he was in a cocoon. The lion fought the rabbit, and he also used all his strength. Under Lexington's guidance, Phelps did not become a little lady. After all, he could not escape the nickname of daughter. Since she is a daughter, someone gave her I should be careful not to go too far. Another story happened the day after that. Sugu takes a lot of naps every day. This afternoon, when he woke up wrapped in quilt, he saw the little girl Sixby squatting beside the bed, her hands squarely placed on the bed, her chin resting on her small arms, her big eyes blinking and staring. He was looking at himself, only a few centimeters away, and he could hear his breathing. Sugu said, "Sixby. Admiral, Admiral, are you awake?" "Wake up," Sugu said, "what's the matter with you?" "I helped you, Claxton kept it," Sixby said, "the ring, the promised ring." Sugu tried hard to find a reason, but he couldn't think of it at all. "You originally said that Clarkston would just stay and not give you a ring. Now she has asked you to be an admiral and join the garrison. You promised me, otherwise what would I have done so hard for?" Claxton joined the garrison, and West Jesby's contribution was really great. She stretched out her hand to pinch Sugu's nose and said dissatisfiedly, "You've already pulled the hook. Admiral, please don't lie, otherwise you will be a puppy." "Witness the shameful sir," Sugu laughed and slowly uttered one word, "Woof." "Not trustworthy." Sixby pinched Sugu's face hard. Although she was just doing it for fun and didn't really want a ring, the Admiral was too hateful. Sixby was standing on the right side of the bed. Sugu reached out to hug her on a whim. He just rolled her body and lifted her up and placed her on the bed on his left side, hugging her tightly. "Admiral, looking at me like this, do you want to kiss me?" Sixby said mischievously, and she closed her eyes. Sugu could guarantee that she just narrowed her eyes. "Okay." Sugu pecked her forehead. "You little goblin." Cough cough cough. Sugu looked up and saw Wichita standing next to the bed. She was wearing a thin open-chested sweater with a large open chest. She was more skilled than the raiders. He didn't know why she came here. Why is it such a coincidence? Wichita looked shocked and stammered, "Admiral, what are you doing?" It's nothing. Sugu quickly let go of Sixby and tried to change the subject. He said, does Wichita have anything to do with me? Are Bismarck and Hood fighting again? Or is Washington bullying South Dakota again? Or did Uberry's laboratory explode again? Wichita didn't react for a moment. Sixby sat up from the bed, covered his mouth and snickered. He sniffed and reached out to wipe away his tears. Of course there were no tears. Then he patted Sugu hard. Jumping out of bed, he ran and said, as if he had been bullied, Admiral is such a pervert, he actually did such a thing to Sixby. Sixby, what are you talking about? Admiral Wichita's voice was faint. Before Sugu started to explain, he saw Wichita proudly puffing up his chest, standing up high on a high mountain, looking at the top of the mountain, and looking at all the small mountains. Sixby is still young, Admiral, if you have anything to do with me, come to me. All in all, the daily life in the town hall was peaceful and uneventful until the end of January of the new year. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 925. This is the training room of the garrison. It was originally a bit crude, with only a few fitness facilities, but now it has gradually become more substantial, with more and more people visiting it, and even wanting to expand it like a coffee shop. Go to hell. Watch the punch. You bastard. Maryland, aren't you enough? Missouri was wearing a vest and his long brown hair was tied into a ponytail. He was dressed refreshingly. Maryland was seen punching and kicking a roly-poly sandbag, and the attack seemed like a gust of wind. Of course, there is nothing wrong with hitting a roly-poly sandbag. The problem is that the person painted on the roly-poly sandbag is somewhat similar to a certain person. He is wearing an admiral hat and an admiral uniform, his eyes are narrowed, and he has a hateful smile on his face. It was just someone who mentioned it casually, but Beizai was more interested than anyone else and started writing immediately. Of course, she was taught a lesson. One more thing. There was a large doll hidden in the wardrobe in Hood's room. Naturally, she couldn't call her Beizai, and she couldn't call her Richelieu. She could only write Bismarck on it and give it up. She was not in a good mood to bring it. To vent, if you are in a good mood, use it to pat and hit the doll on the head, saying things like its face is swollen, don't accept begging for mercy, please be happy, silly cat, and so on. Not enough at all. Another right hook hit the roly-poly sandbag, causing the roly-poly sandbag to shake. Maryland glanced at Missouri and made an understatement. As a ship girl, can you respect your admiral a little? Missouri said, you are really not afraid that he will be angry. When will he take the opportunity to teach you a lesson? Maryland pretended not to understand. Where is the disrespect? Missouri pointed at the roly-poly sandbag. It's okay, he still hits the sandbag all the time, Maryland said, kicking out another whip and waving his hand not far away. Cat, do you think my moves are up to standard? Everything else is fine. It's just a matter of raising your feet a little higher, like me. Bismarck turned around, his sharp eyes flashed, his short hair flying, and he kicked out a demonstrative whip kick, smashing in the air. He is vigorous and powerful, and I have to say, he is really handsome. After Bismarck finished everything, Maryland nodded thoughtfully, eager to try. Do you want to go higher? Missouri said, Maryland, do you want us to give it a try? Okay. Forget it. Missouri immediately backed down. If it was a drill, she wouldn't worry at all. The training and ship equipment parameters were better, but in a fight, she might not be Maryland's opponent. She usually works out and practices yoga from time to time, mainly for her body shape, not like Maryland, but purely for the sake of being brave and fierce. Maryland was not polite. Bang. Missouri felt its dignity violated. Suddenly another voice sounded. Maryland, you've been fighting for so long, let me do it. York City stood next to her and was gearing up. Although she was an aircraft carrier, she was very interested in these things. Anyway, as long as she wasn't studying, she was fine with anything else. "Take your time," Marilyn said. "It's been half an hour." Marilyn said, "There are so many sandbags that no one is using. You can hit them as you like. Why do you have to use this one? This is fun." "No," Marilyn paused, "otherwise, let's compete, and I'll give it to you if you win." Missouri snorted, "You can just play." Marilyn looked at Missouri and said, "You used to have the most fun playing, but now that you're married, your attitude has changed immediately. There must be Maryland and West Virginia." She said, "Missouri, your problem is really serious. You have completely turned into a husband-protecting maniac." "Really?" Missouri rubbed her temples. In the woods outside the governor's house, a pair of feet stepped on the thick fallen leaves, and then stepped on the dry branches, making a creaking sound. "Lafayette, have you found them?" Birds were chirping on the branches, and the sun shone through the gaps in the trees and fell on Zai. She was hiding behind the tree, wearing a peaked cap on her head, a pair of big sunglasses, a dark green coat, and a handful of extra-large water gun. "That water gun is not simple. It is a water gun modified by Uberry. It has a huge water storage capacity and is fully automatic. As long as you hold the trigger, it will not stop until the ammunition is exhausted. The only disadvantage is that it is relatively heavy. This is an unavoidable problem. It is simply an orange legendary weapon. Lafayette's water gun is just about the same. A water gun that looks like an M416 was bought at Chuangziu toy store. It has no modifications except that Sugu helped paint the colorful gun body black, but she also has other weapons, such as with the finger tiger in her hand and the bat behind her." She replied, "I didn't see it." Xiaozai was the captain. She snapped her fingers without ringing at all and said, "Inform Lan and Cushing that we are moving forward. There is no point in continuing to hide." The two of them were chirping all the way, and they were butterflies, beetles, and mantises. "We are not here to catch insects today. This is war, a great war, a life and death war." Lafayette complained, "I really want to let them go. They will only hold us back." "They can draw fire," Kotaku said. Lafayette went to greet people, and after a while Cushing and Lan ran over. Cushing had a small pistol-style water gun in one hand. She was recently obsessed with the old woman's story with two guns. Lan had a white headband tied on her head, with the word "must win" written on it, and he walked pretending to be a ninja. "Commander Xiaozai, you two go up and explore the way." Cushing was unhappy. "Why us?" "Don't talk nonsense." Xiaozai's expression was serious. "A soldier's duty is to obey orders." "All right." Xiaozai said, "Go. Go. Go." Cushing, aggrieved, walked in front, followed closely by Lan. "Mines, there are mines." The two walked for several minutes. Cushing's sharp eyes noticed something strange. She immediately stopped and grabbed Lan. She squatted on the ground and carefully pushed aside the fallen leaves, only to see a yellow balloon filled with water. Zai and Lafayette saw two people squatting on the ground and playing with something, and chased after them. When they heard Cushing's words, they couldn't help but sigh, "They are so cunning, they actually planted landmines. They must be passing by here." Xiaozai suddenly thought of something and shouted, "If there is enemy danger, hide quickly." Lan was the quickest and threw himself to the ground, not caring about getting his clothes dirty and torn and being punished, while the others hid behind the tree. Lafayette asked curiously, "Why should we hide? Can landmines be discovered in Cushing?" Zai analyzed calmly and gestured with his hands, "Let's look at the empty surroundings with no trees. It is conceivable that this is a trap. Deliberately let us find it, and prepare to encircle and annihilate us." However, the surroundings were very quiet. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes passed, and still no one showed up. Lafitte couldn't bear to be annoyed. She looked around and said, no one at all. It was a mistake. Xiaozai blushed a little, hesitated and explained, maybe he left, but, you know, we can't take it lightly. Yeah. Lafitte nodded with a smile, appeared from behind the tree where he was hiding, and waved to indicate that it was okay. When 4 people were surrounding the so-called mines, discussing where the enemy had gone, which way to the south, east, north, and west, there seemed to be footprints here and there. Suddenly 4 people stood up from the surrounding bushes and fired 4 water guns at them. After targeting them, 4 water jets were shot out, making them unable to avoid them. Xian Xiang wore a ring made of branches on his head, and the camouflage looked decent. I now declare that you are all dead. The big mackerel held the big water gun and said to himself, I forgot to shout that noon has arrived. Mahan pinched Cushing's face. I thought of it. There must be a conspiracy and a trap. Why didn't you persist? Xiaozai was really unwilling to give up. He died before leaving the army, which made the hero burst into tears. Your gun is mine now. Kong Xiang laughed and tried to snatch her gun away from Xiaozai. Xiaozai hugged her gun tightly. She hadn't fired a single shot yet and was unwilling to hand it over just like that. Don't lie. If you die, the gun will be the trophy. Kong said, give it to me. No, this gun is mine. A hand fell from the sky and snatched Xiaozai's gun away. He actually cut off his beard and shouted angrily, Sister Bumblebee. Let's go, the battle is not over yet. Bumblebee carried Xiaozai's gun, snorted coldly, and spat out the weeds in his mouth. When a sword is paired with a hero, the best gun must be paired with a warrior with the best marksmanship. Obviously, that person is himself. The small house group is finished. There is also the Desert Fox group, with team members U47, U505, Z17, and Z18, and the miscellaneous group of young girls, with group members Suk Bader, Odin, M1, Sipe, and Uday. Lee group. The shootout in the jungle ended in the afternoon. Sister Bumblebee is so awesome. Is that gunfighting? I want to learn that too, sniper shooting. Sister Bumblebee, can you join our group next time? Walking on the beach, Bumblebee listened to the little Lolita's praise, wiped his nose with his thumb, and with a smile on his face, he won again, easily. He alone had the most results, more than everyone combined, a group of little ones. Pediatrics, there is no opponent worthy of praise. I am indeed too strong. Miss Bumblebee is the best in the world, ha 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 ha. I don't like reading books, although I have drawn comics, but it was forced. In fact, I don't like comics at all. I am not too interested in afternoon tea and various games. It's okay to play occasionally. I don't have anything to do usually. Apart from sitting in the room counting money, which was the happiest time, and sitting in the warehouse drinking beer, Leipzig's favorite was sitting on the rocks by the sea blowing in the wind and drinking beer. She drank a can of beer and pretended to throw it into the sea. After thinking about it, she crushed it and put it in the bag. You can't litter on the beach or in the sea. She looked not far away. Bumblebee was walking in front and behind. Following a large group of little Lolita, I couldn't help but complain, to be honest, Bumblebee is really hopeless. Karlsruhe stood on the rocks with a resolute expression, pursed his lips and said nothing, holding a bottle of beer in his hand, his long hair and clothes dancing in the wind. Obvious question, Königsberg said. I heard that I used to work hard to practice carrier-based aircraft in order to defeat the raiders and get back the B-25. Since the Admiral returned the B-25 to her, it has completely turned into waste. The whole day was spent eating, drinking, playing and playing. Plus, sleep, sleep, sleep. Cologne picked up a shell and played with it. I have returned to the garrison a long time ago. I heard that I even beat the Admiral. Damn it, my favorite Admiral is not even as good as Shinano now. Leipzig hesitated before speaking, and said in shock, I originally wanted to say that there is anyone in the garrison who is worse than Bumblebee, but suddenly I found that the Admiral is the most hopeless and useless person. Königsberg said, the documents are handled by Lexington. Wisconsin has hired the accountant, but she has not yet joined the town government. Is it really reliable? There should be no problem. Euxion is in charge of the cafeteria. The kitchen goddess is in charge of logistics management. Leipzig, if you look at me like this, you don't want to talk about yourself. I am the warehouse manager, the eldest sister, and the kitchen goddess is my subordinate. Okay, Leipzig completely took advantage of returning to the garrison relatively early, and there was no one available at the time. He was guarding the warehouse like Grandet all day long. He was not allowed in or out, said Königsberg. No business was done. This is not business. What is business? Leipzig was very dissatisfied. Don't you know? Being a warehouse manager means you have to be stingy and harsh, so that you can save money and resources for the garrison. Anyway, I think Falcon is more qualified than you. Königsberg continued, and externally, there is Washington. She is the one who signs all contracts. She is really good. She does all kinds of chores and has the reputation of being a housekeeper and a maid. Königsberg thought for a while and then said, as for the Admiral, he is just, haha. Leipzig said, let's not talk about it being useless. It still needs someone to take care of it. Colin was about to speak. Shut up, you are a hopeless Admiral, and you are still a love brain, ha ha ha. Leipzig suddenly laughed, and she said, I have been back in the townhouse for more than half a year, and it is not as good as Clarkston for a month. What can I do? I am a difficult lolicon. Cologne's shoulders slumped. I am a pretty girl who doesn't know how to cherish her in front of me. She is as cowardly as anything. Königsberg spoke again, when he was here, he didn't feel that it was important or dispensable. Now that he is no longer in the garrison, I always feel that something is missing. There is no one for everyone to complain about, like you are now. There is no one to bully anymore. Bullying him is the most fun. There is no pursuit. Many are gone. Leipzig took another can of beer, opened it, and drank it. She accepted it. It was indispensable for an admiral. After a moment of silence, Cologne said, Sister Karlsruhe, why are you silent? There's nothing to say. Cologne saw Karlsruhe frowning and followed her gaze to the sea, as if there was someone there. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 926. Raisins, cashews, pistachios, order them all. This side is the Chuangziu wholesale market. People are coming and going everywhere, and the shouts are endless. Sugu stands in a familiar store and grabs a few dried fruits to eat. In less than half a month, New Year's Eve is coming, and New Year's goods are essential. Today, he is the buyer of the garrison. Because of this, he was absent from the jungle shootout, which resulted in the entire Zai team being wiped out at the beginning of the battle. Cushing and Lan were used to losing miserably, so they had no idea that if they lost, they would lose. Lafite is never discouraged. She has a scar as big as a bowl on her head, but she is still a good man after 18 years. Her credo is to never give up. Xiao Zai was the only one who originally thought about using the magical water gun to achieve great things and kill people. Who knew what kind of ending he would encounter, and he was depressed. When the tiger is not at home, the monkey dominates, and parallel imports like bumblebees can become arrogant. In addition, among some people, the words dispensable, not doing their job properly, mascot and moth are purely slander and self-defeating. The college sent out a gift box of nuts this year. It contained hazelnuts, dried cranberries, small peas, almonds, and what else? I thought about it and realized, by the way, crab roe and melon seeds. I was reading comics alone about the hazelnuts. Eat, I've finished it all. The little peas are not delicious at all, but the almonds taste pretty good. It's also made oil, and it's made rice, northeastern rice. But it's of no use to me. I don't usually turn on the fire. I might as well get a box of cooked food gift boxes, which include sauce chicken wings, sauce pig's feet, roast chicken, and sauce duck feet, delicious. I wanted to trade with Achin, but she didn't want to. She's really stingy. Let's take it back to the governor's house in the afternoon. It's disrespectful to be petty. Sugu turned his head and glanced at the wizened blonde girl. He thought he should regret it and parked the yacht at the pier of the college in the morning. At this time, the college had already been on vacation. As a faculty member, he basically had nothing to do, so he asked this girl to come with him. We will purchase New Year's goods and return to the governor's house together in the afternoon. Finally he couldn't bear it anymore. Considering the girl's self-esteem, Sugudong looked around and saw Prince Eugen. The girl was wearing a brown sweater and a long scarf. He said, "Prince Eugen, there are still firecrackers and fireworks. If you haven't bought it yet, you can take Colossus to have a look." When the giant statue walked away, Sugu said, "You're too talkative." San Juan was also a member of the governor's procurement team, so she naturally came out and said, "It's comparable to the bald eagle Belmacan. It's still a little worse than that chatty eagle." Sugu rubbed his forehead. He remembered that the Colossus in the game clearly did not have a chatterbox setting, which was wrong. He never caught the Colossus from the beginning to the end. He had never seen the lines and was too lazy to read them online. At least before he gave up, many ship girls had nothing at all. I don't know if Colossus has lines or not, but there's no way of knowing his character anyway. Colossus has no outstanding performance in history, which may affect the character of a ship girl. After the war, it was leased by France, later purchased, and renamed Haromanchi, which should be nothing. Think about it, ship girls come from the imagination and expectations of countless people, and everyone's imagination and expectations are different. Every ship girl of the same model is different. Besides, growth is also a key, so nothing is unexpected. Desi also came out. Take a look here and there. She is wearing her housekeeping dress, her long golden hair is tied into a long ponytail, and she looks so cute. It's just that she understands everything. She is already a girl. Sugu can't treat her like he treats Sci-fi. He wants to give her a hug and a kiss. In fact, Sugu and Desi were just joining in the fun, and San Juan was the main force. These, and these, 10 boxes of each. Our town hall has helped you get so many things, so it's cheaper. Originally, we have been working together happily for so many years, and we don't want to change suppliers. Since you are like this, there is no discount at all. A new store has opened at the back door of the wholesale market, and the boss still. With the store owner looking distressed, everyone left the store. Sugu said, "San Juan is really awesome." "No," said San Juan, "Leipzig is the best." Sugu nodded. He could imagine Leipzig bargaining, but her eloquence may not be that great, she is just good at calculating. The next step is to go to the fireworks shop. Girls long for fireworks. In a world without TV, fireworks are also a must-have for entertainment, especially since there are so many little Lolita in the town hall. Without fireworks, they would definitely go berserk. Passing by a large supermarket, Sugu suddenly thought of something. He said, "Let's buy some drinks, mainly beer and cola. Otherwise, there will be no place to buy them in the first month of the year. At least wait until the shops open after the Lantern Festival. There is still a lot of red wine, and there is usually a lot of red wine, just the Prince of Wales and Richelieu drinking a little. British people like black tea, and buying tea once is enough to last them a long time. Germans like beer, especially Leipzig and the three Königsberg sisters. Scharnhorst was unexpectedly an alcoholic. He got drunk several times, lying on the table so drunk that he had no problem picking up corpses. Of course Sugu won't do this kind of thing. Is it necessary to do it with a ring? He would rather seduce Spey with beer, and he likes that round face. There is no way for Americans to refuse Coke, and neither does Baysai. She likes it very much. Anyway, she likes all junk food. Kirov no longer wears braids, and she is no longer dressed in the old-fashioned military coat in the game. She is now a fashionable girl with long wavy hair, a hollow shirt, black and white silk, cropped pants, and high heels. Although he liked vodka, Engels liked Coke quite a bit. San Juan replied, "I bought it a few days ago. It must be enough." "Admiral, didn't you read the purchase order?" Sugu smiled. Obviously, he didn't. It should be said that he simply glanced at it, signed and sealed it, and gave it to Lexington for filing. After finally finishing the shopping, everyone walked to the college, leaving only Prince Eugen at the back. It was impossible to carry so many things with him, and he needed a car. She was responsible for directing each store to deliver the things to the car, and then directing them. The car delivers the things to the college's dock. In fact, everyone walked slowly, and in all likelihood, she arrived at the destination first. Walking on the road to the academy, Colossus kept whining and had to go home to pack her luggage. Although she had a fixed room in the Toot Larry mansion, it was not like other people who came to the Toot Larry mansion and needed to stay in a guest room or pack another room. "You have to pick up the New Year gifts given by the college. Instructor Nelson." Sugu saw Nelson walking by the green belt. "Oh, Admiral Sug. Celebrate the New Year alone," Sugu said. "Why don't you come to our guardhouse?" Nelson raised her hand and refused. As a British person, she didn't care much about New Year's Eve. At most, she just joined in the fun. Without an admiral, as a ship girl, you have no relatives, but you have many friends who are also ship girls, and everyone can get together. It's better to listen to the polite words and not disturb others. On the way to the dock, Sugu suddenly saw a pink-haired girl wearing a white big-brimmed hat and an aristocratic white dress walking past. Her plump bust was a bit protruding. She was definitely a ship girl. He asked, "Colossus, who is that? Why have I never seen it before?" Colossus replied, "She just joined the academy. Her name seems to be Rosalia, armored aircraft carrier Aquila. She usually walks slowly and likes to tease people. She is an instructor at the aircraft carrier academy, but her strength is not good at all. I have watched her practice and practice. It's estimated that it's not even half as big as everyone else's, maybe it's a little higher, the carrier-based aircraft only have." Colossus rambled on for a while. She usually stayed in the town hall and saw Saratoga, Lexington, Dafeng, Ruhi, etc. Now she has a high standard and most people don't take her seriously. Suguxiao, but my training level must be higher than yours. I admit that her training level is a little higher than mine. It hasn't been long since I woke up. Well, it seems to have been a few years. Colossus thought for a while and said, although her training level is high, her ship equipment parameters are really bad, so her combat effectiveness it's bad, especially the armor, and for an armored aircraft carrier, the armor is only so little. Sugu thought to himself that the Sky Eagle was originally refitted from a cruise ship called Roma. However, at that time, there was already a warship called Roma in the Italian Navy under construction, so it could only be renamed Sky Eagle. There is nothing good to say about the modification, there is only one thing that people don't know how to complain about. Genius designers invented the famous cement armor, which is to attach a thick layer of concrete to the outside of the hull to improve debris protection. Although this new armor not only has strong anti-sinking and anti-explosion properties, but also lowers the center of gravity, it can be said to serve multiple purposes. It defended against a special frogman attack and was attacked later, but it never sank, which still makes people feel a little bit subtle. The strongest Zeppelin, I think she is not as good as Zeppelin. Colossus proudly raised his chest, 24K flat screen, and said, I think I may be better than her. Sugu said, you are a neglectful mother. Don't underestimate King Mu. King Mu can also be very strong. Colossus said, although I may still be a little bit weak now, only a little bit, very small. When I grow up in the future, like Akage, you said I will definitely become better after I grow up. If it becomes the Haromanji, then it will be the Haromanji. Look at my bombers, torpedo planes, anti-submarine aircraft in the sky and on the ground, omnipotent. What a skyhawk, it's trivial. Sugu said, you can grow, and others can grow too. Colossus said, that may not win me. Sugu is funny. Smile. The Colossus said, when I grow up and you want me to attack, just ask me, Lord Iromanji. Yes, yes, yes. Look down on me. The giant elephant hit Sugu on the back. 1, 2, 3, dong dong dong. Okay, the Colossus is no longer making trouble. Sugu looked at the Sky Eagle and murmured to himself, Sky Eagle, you are so stupid. San Juan said, has the Admiral fallen in love with Sky Eagle again? No, Sugu thought, of course he was interested in it. As an admiral, how could he refuse the ship girl? The Admiral's ambitions are endless. I just thought about it. I would like to introduce Veneto to him someday. I can't say it's selfish, sisters. He thought to himself, he had been thinking about how to transform Veneto, and he thought about taking her to meet his sister Rome and the Empire, to see the creator's malice and then explode, but he didn't know where. As a rare ship girl, you can't just meet her when you want, and you don't know Sky Eagle. Is that also possible? San Juan said, Admiral, it's really annoying. It's dark every once in a while. It's dark every day. If you catch him, he's a black man, well, he has small breasts. Colossus nodded. Sugu suddenly discovered that the people around him all had flat chests, very flat chests. San Juan crossed his arms and said, Admiral, where are you looking? Nothing. I hit you. Don't keep hitting on me. I love you, said San Juan. When I first saw you, you looked reserved. Now you are unscrupulous. Second only to Xiaozai, San Juan met Sugu earlier than Lexington. Soon after, everyone rushed to the dock. Prince Eugen had arrived early, and all the goods were loaded onto the yacht, which was driven to the garrison by Sugu. Until the evening, half of the sun had sunk into the sea, and the sky and earth were dyed orange. The yacht was docked next to the pier of the governor's mansion. Gia, caught it? Sugu left the cab and stood on the deck and threw the cable to his sister-in-law Saratoga. He didn't know why she was here. Maybe he saw the yacht coming back from the governor's house and came here specially. After all, there were many others besides her. The man then placed the anchor, and only heard a pop sound. Brother-in-law Saratoga tied the cable and called to Sugu, brother-in-law, let me tell you. Don't you always say, why hasn't anyone heard about the daimyo from the garrison and joined it actively? Saratoga said, now there is. Bulletin Tiao can barely be considered one, is there anyone else? Sugu was shocked and asked, who? Saratoga said, what do you think? Can't guess. Saratoga held Sugu's hand and walked into the governor's mansion. She said, I'll give you a hint, what you've been dreaming about. Sugu calmed down and said carefully, U-156. No. That's U-96, Sugu thought to himself. He recently saw a few photos of U-96. The young girl was wearing a stroppy swimsuit. In one of them, She was curled up in the water. In another, her hair was divided into two bunches and fell on her chest, exposing her back. The neck and smooth back are so cute. Saratoga shook her head, no. Feng Feng. No. Shiger. No. M2. Definitely not, Saratoga said quietly. Brother-in-law, why do you think they are all little girls? Sugu was funny. In fact, he was just guessing like this just for fun. He was not a lolicon. Finally, Sugu saw the so-called girl who took the initiative to join the town hall in the cafe of the town hall. She was sitting on the booth sofa, holding a cup of black tea in both hands. Her long silver hair was tied into twin tails. She was beautiful and sitting in Chongqing. There were people talking around her. She seemed to notice something and raised her head to see him. Admiral. Saratoga said, clang, 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 the great Yodo. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 927. On the dock. Prince Eugen carried a carton of oranges off the yacht. This yacht came from the Prince of Wales. It was one size larger than the yacht left by the previous admiral in the garrison. It had a stronger carrying capacity. It had been repainted and repainted. After a modification, the original appearance is no longer visible. Falcon, Gio ran away with the admiral. What's the matter? The town government is a family, and everyone is an integral part of it. It is not a company. There is no such thing as malpractice, collusion, or corruption. However, it is so big that some procedures are still necessary. There is no need to rush the warehouse entry form. You can wait until it is placed in the warehouse before filling it out. Leipzig directed everyone to handle it with care, especially the little loli who joined in the fun. She said, Dadio is back. Oyoto. Come back. Prince Eugen stopped and frowned slightly. His garrison did not have the light cruiser Oyodo at all, so where did the word come back come from? Fei Ying has refreshing short hair, nothing on his chest, and he dresses in a neutral style. He wears a sweatshirt and trousers, and he really looks like a handsome boy. She moved a box of dried fruits and yelled to her sister, Hayabusa, to put 2 more boxes on top of that box. It was okay. Hayabusa did as he was told and reminded her to be careful. When she heard the conversation, she said, Dadian, it's Lin Xian. She's back. I knew it. Prince Eugen knew it, and Sugu naturally knew it too. Sister-in-law Saratoga's quirky smile is just a little bit, so it's conceivable that things will never be that simple, like Dadio or something. I still remember that when I was playing games, I did something quite outrageous. Since I couldn't build the Oyodo number many times, I spent countless drawings and resources. Fortunately, I didn't get the upper hand. Otherwise, I spent all the resources and it still hasn't come out. I guess it has been abandoned a long time ago. Anyway, there are various reasons. The vertical drawing is similar. Lin Xian's name is Dadian. The girl was holding black tea. Oyodo is Japanese, and drinking black tea is not a Japanese habit. It would be better to switch to fresh tea. In addition, it is best to change the venue of the reception from a cafe to an izakaya. There was a circle of British people sitting around the girl, especially Chongqing, who was sitting next to her. Think about it, Chongqing, as the fishery administration, couldn't deal with the Japanese people. Then Lingxian, a treaty-type light cruiser, was originally planned to build 3 ships. After the design plan was finalized, it was increased to 5 ships. In the end, only 4 ships were built. This class of battleships are all named after female figures in Greek mythology or Roman mythology. The Lingxian is also the forest nymph Artosa, the maid of the moon god Artemis. The name of the 4th Lingxian class ship is Dawn Goddess. After World War II, the British government decided to donate the ship to the government of the Republic of China as compensation for the Chinese ship's requisition during World War II. Now it has a name called Chongqing. Besides, even if you take the initiative to join the garrison, there is no such thing as a ship girl who calls strangers admiral. So for the above reasons, he hesitated and shouted, "Lin Xian." Yeah, the girl nodded. Sugu sat down opposite her, and Saratoga sat down next to him, and took his arm. The girl never missed any opportunity to get close, although she always slipped up at critical moments. Completely unprepared, Sugu didn't know what to say. He was silent for a moment. "It's my problem that I suddenly left the town hall." Lin Xian said, "It's okay. It'll be fine once the admiral comes back." Ship girls generally have this attitude and forgive without limit. Sugu thought to himself that when he first met Xiao Zai in the abandoned guard mansion, he had no intention of becoming an admiral, but he still reluctantly agreed because of her persistence. When she met San Juan again, from a game perspective, she still had no regrets despite having done such an excessive thing, and even handed over such a large sum of savings to herself. Then came Lexington, forever waiting. All in all, what an individual did was touching, and he truly wanted to protect everyone and become an admiral. "You haven't come back. We are really worried about you. We talk about you from time to time and are afraid that something might happen to you." "Oh, I'm fine. Have a nice trip," Lin Xian said where he went to work after leaving the team headed by the Prince of Wales. There wasn't much to say, it was just ordinary. "I heard about the magazine by chance, that is, the magazine that described the biggest victory against the deep-sea ship girl since the appearance of the deep-sea ship girl. The protagonist was everyone in the Toot Larry house, and thus I learned about the existence of the Toot Larry house." So he rushed back. "The reason why I haven't gone to find the Prince of Wales is because the distance is too far. She is in a city in the east. As for why I went to such a far away place and wanted to walk around and see it, I arrived inexplicably." Sugu talks about what has been happening in the town hall. Saratoga showed off the interesting things that happened in that great sea battle. It was a defensive battle. The deep-sea ship girl was the victim. The ship girl was like the Demon King's army. In the end, evil defeated justice. She said that the deep-sea ship girl was surprisingly smart. "I knew how to cut off the supply line, and then a large group of deep-sea destroyers encountered the escort of the supply ship, and launched a T-formation heavy cruiser formation. Finally, I said it was a pity that you came back too late and missed it. My training level is such that even in the garrison, I can't go on the battlefield," Lin Xian said quietly. "As a ship girl, you may not like to attack very much, but if you don't do it even once, that would be wrong." Bastard Admiral Chongqing rolled his eyes at Sugu. Although she was now on the Chongqing, a fishery administration ship, and her figure and appearance were no longer that of a girl and had become more mature, she had never forgotten that Lin Xian was her sister. Lin Xian defended Sugu. "I don't blame the admiral. He must give priority to cultivating powerful people. I can't." Sugu thought to himself that the Lingxian-class ship's equipment parameters were really not high, and only Chongqing had modifications, so he trained her. Anyway, it's okay to bully and criticize the admiral, of course only within the garrison. If outsiders are chirping, their fists don't have eyes. Just like when York City knocked down Sugu in the training room and even mocked him, Bismarck didn't care at all. But in the academy, Instructor Nelson defeated him in a sparring match and stood up at that time. Chongqing said that during the Great Sea War, everyone went out to attack and went through life and death. Although no one was sunk in the whole battle, the admiral did not work well in the garrison and was confused with Mutsu, the slut. In the end, he was arrested as an active. The thing is like this. Sugu explained, "I don't want to lose face." Then he tried to change the subject. "Does Lin Xian know? You left the Prince of Wales and the others, and London also left. She did not work anywhere, but traveled across the mountains and seas in search of delicious food. Now she is a great chef. Even if Yuxian is no match, I have a chance to try it. Even though the resistance of the British type is relatively strong, London is not an ordinary player, with full penetration points and full true damage. Lin Xian said, really? Hood in her normal style is still quite elegant and well deserved for the glory of the Royal Navy. She gently stirred the teacup with a small spoon, took a sip from the black teacup, and said with a smile, volcanic potatoes, boiled bananas, dark cold noodles. Hood, how can you be so good, even if it is the honor of the Royal Navy and the eldest sister of the Royal Navy? London cannot tolerate anyone insulting its own cuisine. I remember what you made that time. It was weird anyway, Admiral. I didn't want to eat it and got angry, and finally I vomited it after eating it. The food I cook is the worst, and the food you cook is terrible. Hood's retort was quite sharp. The two of them quarreled, and Sugu thought to himself that Huda, a noble lady who usually had to serve with prestige, was willing to prepare food for herself. She was very touched. Although it was true that it was unpalatable, it goes without saying that it was not London. Ignoring these two people, Sugu said, but Chungqing's cooking skills are really good. I still remember when I first found her, she, Yuxian, and Ningai Pinghai opened a restaurant in a small town next to Sujiang. At a tea house, I ate sea bass casserole that night, and it tasted really good. Lin Xian said, I know Chungqing's cooking skills are very good. Casserole sea bass is not what I'm good at. Chungqing added, by the way, sister, you can call me the goddess of dawn to miss the past. Sugu regretted that Chungqing must be indispensable. Why didn't he spend money to buy beds earlier? So he demolished Galatea and Penelope, otherwise they would be the four sisters. In fact, Lin Xian also did it, but later due to Dadian's relationship after locking one, he said, the most classic thing in Chungqing is to see us, Fletcher and me, the phrase Niangzipai. Shut up. Chungqing's face turned red for a moment. Sugu said, I feel very good. If you cultivate it, this will be your cuteness in Chungqing. Say it again. Usually quite gentle, Chungqing stood up, bent down, stretched out his hand, and slapped Sugu's head unceremoniously. Don't hit my brother-in-law. Saratoga glared at Chungqing and snickered again, Niangzipai. Chungqing gave Sugu another look. What did Jia say have to do with me? Sugu said, just hit her. I'm going to hit you. Who asked you to take the lead? Chungqing said, giving him another blow. Sugu raised his hands in surrender, okay, my fault. A broken mirror is hard to be reunited. It only takes one time for the label to be affixed. Chungqing said, the worst admiral in the world loves to harass everyone. He pokes and prods everyone with his fingers every day. He doesn't let anyone go. If it's badly broken, he won't repair it. They don't give them a change of clothes, so they have to dress in rags and act as secretaries. They also like to make fun of other people's shortcomings, slips of the tongue, etc., and they never tire of it. Especially Chungqing defended his sister. My sister is obviously Lin Xian, but she insists on calling her Dadian. Do you really not know how hurtful this is? Lin Xian was sitting next to her. After listening, she slowly lay down on the table, her eyes suddenly filled with mist. She remembered reading a novel before. The hero falls in love with the heroine, not because she is innocent, kind, and beautiful, but because she looks like his lover who once died of illness. Then when she knew why he liked her, even though she really liked him, she decisively rejected him. I like you, so I hope you like me very much, but I hope you like me. I dance when I am happy, curl up in the corner of the room when I am sad, and like myself when I am alone. Talking to myself. Don't compare me with others. I am me, not anyone else, not someone else's shadow, nor someone else's substitute, nor anyone else's second best choice. I still remember the words she shouted out, and I remember the heartbreaking pain in my heart when I read those words. Of course, that novel still had a comedy ending. He finally found out that the person he liked was her, not because of her appearance, and then the two of them lived happily together. My story seems to be about her, the heroine, but it's a little different. The admiral didn't love himself. He never went out to attack, didn't drill, and didn't even fry fish. But many people were like this, so there was nothing to complain about. Just because he has the same figure, similar hairstyle, and silver-haired twin tails, he is obviously Lin Xian. Every time he sees himself, he calls her Dadian, saying things like "Why aren't you Dadian?" and "I want Dadian," and occasionally he will be in a daze and say things like "I have a Dadian and this is my Dadian." After the admiral left the garrison and the garrison fell apart, he wandered with the Prince of Wales. Why did he leave alone? I want to meet Oyoto and see what is so great about her. I walked through cities one after another, but I didn't see Oyo in western cities. Think about it, she is a rare ship girl. In addition, it is easier to find British, German, French, and Italian ship girls in the west, while it is easier to find American and Japanese ship girls in the east. The ship girl, so she traveled across mountains and rivers to the east. Finally I met Oyodo, and it seemed like there was nothing special about him. The parameters of the ship's equipment were not high, and his appearance was very cute, but he was not bad either. I really don't understand why something like that happens. The Prince of Wales noticed something strange, and she said, "Lin Xian, what's wrong with you?" Lin Xian raised her head, and even she herself didn't know how to speak. "I'm not Dadian." As soon as she finished speaking, she woke up and bit her lip subconsciously. Sugu felt his heart tightening, and he quickly said, "Of course Lin Xian is not Dadian. I am Lin Xian." Sugu said, "Well, Lin Xian, Lin Xian." "Why, Admiral, why?" Lin Xian's eyes flashed with tears. "How am I inferior to her?" Chung Ching said, "Admiral, let's talk about it, but we can't understand it either." "Do you really want to say it?" Sugu hesitated for a moment. He thought to himself, what other reason could there be? The gameplay, there is live 2D in Dadian. Lin Xian said, "Please, Admiral." Sugu thought it was bad to lie, but the truth was so funny. He gritted his teeth and replied, "Because I heard that if it's Dadian, it's cute to touch your head, squint your eyes, blush, and look shy. It's okay. Like Helena, she pokes and prods without resisting. You can grab Ziyun, but the little tsundere says no, touch her thigh, and the mystery will blush. You can even lift your skirt." The surroundings suddenly became quiet, and the atmosphere suddenly became strange. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 928. All in all, as soon as Sugu's words came out, Lin Xian suddenly felt that Dadian was not worth caring about at all. By the way, think about it, if the admiral builds Dadu, and then continues to harass him every day, lifting his skirt again and again, the girl can only stop him because he is the admiral and it is difficult to resist, but the more she resists the admiral, the more excitement leads to a vicious cycle, without even a little envy, on the contrary, a bit pitiful. There was silence, followed by an explosion. "Admiral, do you want to be so perverted? So, Admiral, where did you hear that Oyodo won't resist even if his skirt is lifted? Admiral, do you still have this kind of hobby? Lin Xian can lift up a small skirt or something. Anyone can lift it up." Guangrong was also there. She lifted up the skirt of Santiago, who was passing by, revealing only his white underwear. Santiago held down her skirt. She was good-tempered and did not get angry. "Glorious, what are you doing?" Although he didn't believe it, Sugu still said, "That was in the past. Now I have changed. Maybe I was a bit of a gangster before, but now I am definitely a gentleman. Yes, a gentleman." The jeers and laughter didn't stop, even when I was getting ready to go to bed at night. Master, are they telling the truth? You have always wanted Oyo just to lift her skirt. There are quite a lot of weddings going on, and it has come to a point where everyone can't do it even for 2 days a month. It would be nice if I had a big quilt to sleep with, but I dare not mention it. Anyway, Sugu was in the little maid's room today. He was lying on the bed. He turned his head and saw that Sugu was sitting on the edge of the bed, taking off the white cloth wrapping his hair. The dazzling blonde hair suddenly flowed down. Do you think it's possible? With curly blonde hair, he scratched his head and replied, it must be true. What do you mean it must be true? Sugu was angry and felt insulted. Was he such an unscrupulous person? Counterattack gives many examples. The far ones are nothing more than those, such as poking Helena's breasts, destroying the Archer Fish Secretary ship incident, the ship girl group, etc., and the recent ones include the Quincy wedding dress incident, and seeing Fletcher naked. Using various excuses to hug California's waist, etc., means that you are such a bad admiral and have never even changed. Sugu wanted to explain, but he just said something, and Counterattack interrupted him. It doesn't matter, Master doesn't need to explain. Even if he is a very bad master, Counterattack still likes him. Sugu's face turned red when she counterattacked. Unexpectedly, the usually shy little maid could actually say such words. She must have liked herself very much, and she didn't know whether she was happy or sad for a moment. At least to maintain an image in front of the little maid, Sugu said, at that time, you took Fletcher and Trust to clean the lawn. You were not in the coffee shop. You didn't know the atmosphere at that time. Lin Xian asked me with tears in my eyes why I liked Diane so much. After thinking about it for a long time, I decided to liven up the atmosphere and defile myself. Look, at dinner time, Lin Xian was already in good condition. The surface angel of Lexington, the pure devil of Missouri, anyway, he has so many wedding ships, and he is the softest, so the best way to deal with him is to fight back. If it's true as the master said, it's just self-destruction. He counterattacked and asked, then why does the master like Diane? Is it because Diane is cuter than Lin Xian? But it's hard to say it in person because Lin Xian might be sad. No. Sugu had seen Diane in real life, in the garrison where he knew Admiral Eugene. I have to say, that guy is really lucky, not only because he has money, but also in Suffolk and many rare ship girls, although only capital ships are popular in this world. Anyway, Diane is very cute, but compared to Lin Xian, they are actually evenly matched, and it's hard to say who is better and who is worse. He counterattacked and asked, why is that? A very simple way to solve the problem. If there is no way to solve the problem, then eliminate the problem. Sugu said, I call Lin Xian Diane, but how can I like Diane and dislike Lin Xian? If the problem cannot be eliminated, then eliminate the person who asked the question. Sugu hugged her from behind and blew a breath into her ear. When she reached out to cover her ears, she whispered, now, we don't talk about how Diane and Lin Xian are doing. It's boring. Fight back, it's getting late, let's go to bed. Countered, 9 o'clock. Isn't 9 o'clock too late? He fought back and broke away from Sugu's arms and said, Master, I haven't taken a shower yet. I want to take a shower. Then go and wash it. Sugu watched as Counterattack found a change of clothes from the closet, walked into the bathroom and disappeared. He took a magazine from the bedside table and flipped through it. He suddenly thought of something, covered his face with the magazine, and a smile appeared on his lips involuntarily. He actually caused himself such embarrassment and needed to be punished. 1 minute, 2 minutes, and 3 minutes passed. Sugu felt about the same. He took off his clothes, walked to the bathroom door, knocked on the door, and shouted, fight back. The voice of Counterattack came, Master, what can I do? I suddenly thought. Sugu said, let's wash together. We haven't washed together for a long time. Although it has been a long time since we became a wedding ship, we still can't fight back so generously. Otherwise, if it were Helena or Colorado, the door would have been opened at this point. Her voice was obviously a little panicked. Master, wait a moment, as long as I'll finish washing it in one go. No, you don't know how cold it is when I'm outside, Sugu laughed. Before he counterattacked and thought of locking the door, he opened the door and squeezed in, intending to cook the rice. The counterattack trembled. Master, what are you going to do? I told you to take a shower. The bathroom was not big, but not small either. There was no separation between dry and wet areas, so there was nowhere to hide in the counterattack. Sugu only saw her with a wary expression, wrapped in a bath towel randomly, and her long golden hair was wet, and strands of it stuck to her cheeks. Scattered on the delicate and white chest and shoulders, the water droplets slid down the ends of the hair, dripping and ticking, which was particularly attractive. If there was anything more terrible, Sugu lowered his head slightly and saw that the bath towel she was wrapped in only reached the top of her thighs. It was the fact that she couldn't see anything that made her more attractive to get to the bottom of it. In addition, there are still wet drops of water on the plump thighs, which are moist and shiny. There is no problem if you touch them. The counterattack seemed to have discovered something was wrong. He reached out and tried to pull the towel to cover it more tightly. His legs were tightly entangled and twisted. Master, don't look at it. Take another look. Seeing Sugu's unconcealed eyes, she said weakly, Master, can you please go out? Sugu replied, not good. Well. Sugu said, don't be afraid of fighting back, I won't do anything. She still shook her head in response. She didn't believe it. After all, she had suffered losses before, not once or twice. We are husband and wife, right? Since we are husband and wife, what's the big deal about this? If you counterattack, you should say that I am the master, but you don't listen to the master's words. Sugu pressed forward step by step. You want to catch up with your sister's reputation when you counterattack. Your sister doesn't look like you, so this won't work. If it were her, she would definitely say at this time, Master, just let me take a bath for you. He almost cried. He took a deep breath and tried very hard to speak, Master, Master, let me serve you. No, Sugu laughed, I always let counterattack serve me. I have always been ashamed. Let me serve counterattack this time. No, I don't need it anymore. Bailey shook his head repeatedly. She is a little maid and she should serve her master. It shouldn't be, Sugu said. He forced his counterattack onto the small stool. Take off the towel first. Of course, the counterattack would not take off the bath towel, but Sugu still took off her bath towel, parted her long hair. Her face was red, and she arched her waist, revealing the beautiful back of her neck, which was enough to control the breathlessness, and smooth back. Master really can't do anything. No, I will do what I say. Oh well. Putting the shampoo on the ground, Sugu squeezed a little into his hand and started to wash counterattack's hair. He decided to restrain himself for the time being. Lin Xian is back too. Is there anyone in the British department who has not returned to the guardhouse? She fought back and clamped her hands with her legs. She didn't pay much attention to this matter. Let me think about it. Sugu said, anyway, all the legal systems are back. They had no one in the first place, and they are all together. Italy and Italy are all together, too. Andrea got his sister KO, but why didn't Veneto get a Roman? Or what about the Empire? I remember that your sister and I got off the boat to look for them on the way back to the garrison, and we met Roma in that garrison. Have no idea. It's almost done. It's time for everyone to come back, Sugu said casually. I just remember there are a few more from the American department, such as Keelan. I don't know who she is with. Anyway, she can't be alone. It may be Pengjian, Pensacola and Salt Lake City, it could also be Baltimore, or maybe all of them together. He countered, it's not just them. Sugu picked up the shower head, turned on the switch, hot water spurted out, and the steam rose, washing away the foam on the counterattack's hair. He picked up the bath ball and started to help rub his back, and asked, who else is there? The master is an admiral. Are you still asking me, a little maid? Sugu thought of the list and crossed out each person one by one. However, Lin Xian's name had not been crossed out yet. There should be more than just a few people. Counterattack to himself, what if everyone came back? Counterattack suddenly smiled and said, the master has a lot of tasks. The first task is to find everyone. Then Washington, Yuxian, and Xianghe have not responded to their feelings. I wonder if Ruhi has urged the master to marry her sister quickly? Apart from them, and there are so many people, too numerous to count, Nelson, Rodney, Glorious, Fletcher, Fletcher. Have you learned to be naughty when you fight back? Sugu said. What benefit did Fletcher give you, asking you to speak for her? Fletcher is my sister. Counterattack thought, Fletcher is also a little maid. She has been following her since the establishment of the garrison until now. Sugu rubbed his back, shoulders, and arms again. He said, I remembered that the Prince of Wales told me before that the Admiral should get married and fight back. Admiral! She suddenly screamed in counterattack, but it was not because of Sugu's words, but because of his actions. She hugged her chest, what are you doing? What did I do again? Sugu raised his hands, pretending to be innocent, I helped you take a bath. No need, he countered, I can do it myself. Don't be shy. Sugu tried his best to open his counter-attacking hand. Sugu couldn't defeat Sugu with a counter-attack, so he finally gave up the resistance. It was so fun to tease the little maid, so he said, the counter-attack seems to be bigger again. He blushed and said nothing. My belly is so soft. Fight back or say nothing. Okay, this place has been cleaned, and then where did it go? The counter-attack finally came to fruition. She grabbed Sugu's wandering hand and turned around. Under the warm yellow light, the girl biting her lip looked like a frightened and scared deer, looking pitiful. No pity makes people want to turn into a big bad wolf and push them down and eat them. Okay, Sugu said without continuing the teasing, it's almost done. Fight back finally felt relieved. Sugu paused, and then said, everyone's feelings still need to be responded to. The little angel U-156 has not been obtained yet, and the coveted U-96 has not yet been obtained. The last time the construction failed, I originally wanted the King George V and the Prince of Wales. Sister, big brother, otherwise the York Convention would be fine, no one would have thought that there wouldn't even be a destroyer, it's a pity. I remembered again that I promised Xiaozai in the abandoned townhouse that we would make everyone in the townhouse happy. Sugu said, yes, when everyone returns to the townhouse, it's not the end, it's just the beginning. He countered, Master, don't just talk and don't practice fake moves. Sugu suddenly put his arm around her neck, rested his chin on her shoulder, and said, the counterattack is very good. You can't just talk without practicing the fake moves, so let's start with the counterattack now. A long time later. Sugu said, do you believe the counterattack? Counterattack knelt on the ground, lying on top of the bathtub, and whispered, Admiral Rogue. It seems like it's not enough. Sugu put water in the bathtub, if we take a bath together, if we don't take a bath together, it means nothing. The counterattack was not rejected this time. Soon after, Sugu lay in the bathtub, holding his hands gently to fight back. It's really comfortable to take a bath in this winter. Sugu picked up the small toys floating on the water and showed off, this little yellow duck was taken from the small house. This little ship seems to be a fantasy, but it doesn't seem to be. And then this little turtle. Missouri has it, so how can I have less and want more? Admiral, it seems. He countered, not knowing what words to use to express his thoughts. Yuberry is back. I'll ask her to make a fully automatic thermostatic bathtub another day, and add another one. The counter-attacking voice suddenly became panicked. Master, that. Of course Sugu knew what was going on with him. He said, it's still early to fight back. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 929. The joy of the boudoir is not something that outsiders should know about, it's fine if you know it and I know it. Counterattack went on as usual the next day, but there were still some minor issues. For example, the night was really unbearable and she got up late in the morning. Unlike in the past, when Gu woke up, she had already put on a maid outfit, dressed up, and was waiting to help him get up. In fact, the main reason was he hugged her tightly like an octopus, unable to get up unless she woke someone up. In the morning, inside the coffee shop, the sea breeze blew the curtains and swayed. Sugu sat on the wicker chair by the window, bathed in the sunshine, and took a sip of black tea. This time our town hall suppressed the deep-sea flagship. I heard from the company that not only the Admiral, but also that there are reports everywhere in the ship girl circle, so everyone should be able to see it. Colorado held her cheek with one hand and looked through the window at the sea. She said, I don't know. I wonder where they are. Colorado said, if it is an American, it may be that Washington and the others live in that distant continent, so the information is not available. Sugu said, I hope everyone can come back soon, preferably before the new year, and have a happy new year together. I hope so. Colorado suddenly whispered, Admiral, it looks like you didn't sleep well last night. Are you going to fight back against Juicer? Sugu's face was expressionless. Are you embarrassed to say this to others? Since Lin Xian returned to the town hall because she saw the magazine, Sugu was still looking forward to it, looking forward to someone like her returning to the town hall. However, he was disappointed. Finally, today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, just a few days before the Chinese New Year, no one has come back yet. I don't know whether to be disappointed or pity that they are not blessed. No matter what, life must go on and daily life must continue. At noon, Sugu passed by the back kitchen of the cafeteria. It was impossible to pass by here because there was no road behind it. He just wanted to come and have a look, and saw Yuxian cleaning it. There are many maids in the garrison, but their main responsibility is still the unclaimed land. The inventory and cleaning of the warehouse are the work of Leipzig, Vesta, and Falcon. The organization of the studio is in the hands of Richelieu. Don't ask. Why is Baizai away? Claxton is helping a little, and the hygiene of the kitchen is naturally the responsibility of Yuxian, the person in charge. There are a lot of spider webs on the ceiling. Yuxian's hair is tied up and wrapped in a white scarf. He wears a stain-resistant blue coat and gray trousers that he usually wears when tending the vegetable field. He also has floral sleeves on his hands. Holding a long broom, the kind of ordinary broom tied to a long bamboo pole. She was muttering something to herself, without seeing Sugu, until a burst of ashes fell. She covered her mouth with the back of her hand, stepped back and bumped into him. She turned around and saw him. Admiral. Sugu said, start cleaning so early? There are still a few days before the Chinese New Year. Clean up in advance, Yuxian said, otherwise you'll be in a hurry then. Suddenly Yuxian coughed, and Sugu said, don't you wear a mask? No trouble. I'll help you get one from the warehouse. Yuxian waved his hand, no need. How about I help you clean the ceiling? Sugu settled for the next best thing. He had always been very considerate. This is really not a polite word, it's not Saratoga, Zwihi, Atlanta, etc. No, that Atlanta guy will just watch the excitement, or eat snacks while watching the excitement, saying let me help you and similar words. Wait until if you really leave the work to her, if you do it for a minute or two, she will definitely miss something. Yuxian asked, is everything okay, Admiral? It's okay, Sugu said, I've been very busy lately. After Sugu just finished speaking, he felt something punching his back. He turned around and found little Changchun standing not far behind him, with his head wrapped in cloth like a Yuxian. The difference was that the soft her long silver hair was not tied up, her left hand was on her hip, and her right hand had just retracted the long broom. It seemed that she was also helping to clean the ceiling. She was very polite, Admiral, work. Sugu didn't say that I had this intention. He showed a smile and said, capture a strong man. Yes, catch the strong man. Please forgive me for refusing. Sugu grabbed the long broom from Yuxian's hand and swept it towards Changchun, eat my boat hitterma stick technique. Changchun was one of the most energetic in the garrison. Not to be outdone, she shouted, take my stick, crazy magic stick technique. I said you two came here to cause trouble. A few days after Lin Xian returned to the governor's mansion, Shung Qing temporarily bid farewell to Yuxian to stay with his sister, and now he is back. She was carrying a small bucket. The water in the small bucket was dirty, and the rag sank at the bottom of the water. She watched Sugu and Changchun making a fuss in the cafeteria. Yuxian retreated to the wall to avoid being affected, and said angrily. Sugyutin stopped. Changchun was not afraid of anything, so he hit him again to take advantage and then stopped. Sugu said, Changchun, if it weren't for Chongqing, I would have to teach you a lesson today. Changchun was not afraid at all. She held up a long broom and said, the Ruyi golden cudgel weighs 13,500 kilograms. If you knock it, you will die, and if you rub it, you will be injured. Sugu rubbed Changchun's head amusingly. The girl was so cute. When Yuxian saw Chongqing, she asked, how are you doing in Chongqing? It's not finished yet, Chongqing said. Ning Hai Ping Hai caught a mouse in the utility room. Rat, Changchun said, I want to take a look. Chongqing said, we have been beaten to death and thrown away. Changchun felt a little disappointed. We have 3 cats, a ferocious tiger, a bald eagle, and rats in our garrison, Sugu said. Obviously, none of these guys are serious about their work. Chongqing said, isn't that the same as you? Sugu had no self-awareness. I still have a good job. They are pets, and you are also a mascot, Chongqing said. Don't say that. Sugu pretended to be aggrieved. His mentality was excellent. Chongqing said, that chatty eagle is not expected. Bismarck's Oscar, and Hood's fish cake Ginger, the 3 fat cats. Especially Ginger, is he so fat that he can still walk? Where can he curl up all day long? The big ferocious tiger in Kent is no better, the big orange cat. Yuxian said, actually, Oscar's movements are very agile. The day before yesterday, I saw him flying over the wall with a piece of sausage in his mouth. Yuxian had already prepared sausages, bacon, etc. Indeed, around these things, several defensive battles broke out in the garrison. 36 strategies to encircle Wei and save Zhao, Li Dai Taozhan, concealing the truth and crossing the sea, etc. appeared more than once. Not only the attackers were as fierce as tigers, but it was pity that the defenders still had guys like Changchun who were guarding and stealing. In particular, the criminal gang headed by Xiao Zai stole the sausages and was caught burning leaves to grill the sausages outside the town hall. After a brief chat, the cleaning work in the cafeteria continued. Chongqing said that she would continue to clean the windows and went to fetch clean water with a bucket. Yuxian assigned the task. She looked at Sugu and Changchun and said, I'm going to take out the trash first. I'll leave the ceiling to you two martial arts masters. You must unite and love. Ha, Changchun, be honest, and don't act like an admiral. Just like a child. Be quick, there are still many things to do, and you have to start preparing dinner again if it is later, don't put it off until tomorrow. Received. Changchun stood at attention and saluted with standard movements. Sugu said, don't worry. The two people started cleaning. Yuxian carried the garbage that was originally placed in the corner and walked outside. The garbage included a broken bamboo dustpan, two chipped bowls, many unused paper bags, and messy household garbage. Sugu worked hard, but there was no hope for Changchun. He swept here and there, and found that the ceiling seemed to be a little loose. He took a long broom and turned it around, and used a long bamboo pole to tuck the ground pestle. One stroke was not enough, and he came again. Suddenly, pieces of putty fell off, and she took a step back and rubbed her eyes. Consultant Su, did dust get into your eyes? Changchun nodded, yes. It's your own fault. I'm going to be angry. Sugu said, would you like me to blow it for you? Changchun walked to Sugu's side and raised his head. Left eye or right eye? Sugu bent down and held her little head with both hands. He saw her blinking her eyes, with beautiful burgundy eyes, curved eyelashes, and a rosy face. She must have a little bit of it when she raised her head. The movement of leaning back was really big, and it became more and more eye-catching, and there was no defense at all. Changchun said, left eye. Don't move. Sugu opened Changchun's left eyelid, blew twice and stopped. In fact, he always thought that doing this kind of thing had no effect. It was better to rub his eyes for psychological comfort. Are you ready? Sure enough, Changchun still rubbed his eyes for a while until tears appeared. The kitchen is a bit big, and it took a lot of time to clean the ceiling. Of course, Changchun found various reasons to be lazy during this period, such as chasing a spider that fell on the ground and eventually trampling it to death. He stood by the window and looked at the wall of the town guard mansion. It was covered with roses, and she practiced stick skills on the spot. This time Sugu didn't accompany her to play around, and she soon became bored by herself. Admiral, look, as Changchun walked around, opened the steamer on the stove, his eyes were shining, he snickered, and he discovered a big secret treasure. While the two were eating steamed buns, Yuxian came back with a helpless expression. Sugu stretched out his hand, Baizai, do you want Yuxian? Yuxian was funny, I don't want it. Sugu explained, we won't eat until we finish cleaning. Take the dice, do you want to move? Yuxian's eyes swept across the ground. Of course, neither Changchun nor Sugu were the kind of hard-working people who like to find things to do. After finishing the work, they would pick up the broom. He leaned against the wall and ignored the ground covered with dust, cobwebs, dead bugs, etc. Sugu hesitated. The villain from Changchun complained first, the admiral is the laziest. Are you embarrassed to accuse me? Sugu rubbed the girl's head frantically, took off the cloth on her head, and messed up her hair. He hesitated and said, where's the broom? I'll sweep the floor. Yuxian said, leave it to me. Sugu looked around. He saw that the windows had not been cleaned, the exhaust fan was covered with oil, the tall cabinets, and the tripod in the corner. He said, is there anything else you can do for me? Yuxian thought for a while and said, there are apples in the cupboard. Sugu was stunned for a moment, and he quickly understood the meaning of Yuxian's words, there are apples there, you can eat them, and this is your business. He thought to himself, please, I'm really here to do something, not a troublemaker like Changchun. Yuxian wants me to peel the apple for you to eat? Okay, leave it to me. Where is the fruit knife? Here. I want an apple too. Changchun found the fruit knife on the knife holder on the stove, and then started dancing. Yuxian sternly said, Changchun, how many times have I told you? You can't play with knives, it's very dangerous. Oh. What else? Yuxian said, you can't point the tip of the knife at others. Hold the knife in your backhand and hand the handle to the admiral. Changchun still listened to Yuxian's words, and she said, I understand. Sugu took the knife, found the apple, sat down on the bench, and said casually, I always eat apples with the skin on. Changchun said, me too. Yuxian said, it doesn't matter. It's not unclean. You won't get sick after eating it, Sugu said, in fact, apple peels are quite nutritious. Yuxian said, there may be pesticide residues. I thought of Fletcher again. The girl was worried about this and that. She believed what the magazine said and had no ability to distinguish what cannot be eaten together with what is incompatible with what. Everyone remember that this kind of food cannot be eaten together. It's poisonous when eaten. Sugu couldn't help but show off, anyone who talks about toxicity aside from the dose is a hooligan. Even if it's salt and water, eating too much salt will increase the burden on the body, and drinking too much water will cause edema. Changchun interjected, I've eaten too much to support myself. Sugu looked at Changchun sideways and said flatly, no culture. It was this kind of understatement that made Changchun very angry, you are uneducated. Sugu finally finished peeling the apple. His knife skills were superb and he could finish it in one go, so he could twist a long piece of apple skin and said proudly, how was it? Changchun said, Sister Yuxian can carve flowers out of apples. I admit that I can't compare to Yuxian, Sugu said, but Changchun, what do you think? Changchun remained unmoved. The point was not the quarrel. She stretched out her hand, apple. No, this belongs to your sister Yuxian. Sugu raised the apple high, and Changchun sat next to him. Even if she threw herself on him, she couldn't reach it. Did I say I'd peel the apple for you, living comfortably without anybody's help? Ouch. Wow, Changchun shook his head, imitating a lion roaring, I'm going to bite you. Bite it? Changchun grabbed Sugu's arm and chewed on his arm. Sugu looked at the teeth marks on his clothes. To be precise, they were saliva. Did you really bite? Changchun snorted coldly. Sugu shouted, Yuxian, look at Changchun, she bites people, and the one biting people is a puppy. Changchun said, Sister Yuxian, you are in charge of the admiral. The corners of Yuxian's mouth curved slightly. She liked this kind of scene very much. She said, I can't control him. Time passes like this little by little, and the new year is approaching. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 930. Coming. Missouri keeps its word, not on Christmas, but it will definitely call businesses to the town hall during the new year. On the day before the Chinese New Year, Sugu saw Missouri under the camphor tree in front of the dormitory building, and the company standing next to her. Her long blonde hair was draped over her shoulders, and she was wearing a long brown windbreaker with a large lapel, and the hem was above the knees. 1. The buttons are not fastened, and you can see the black bottoming shirt worn underneath. The black silk outlines a pair of beautiful legs, paired with suede over-the-knee boots. The Enterprise waved, excuse me. Then what are you going to do? Sugu said, how's it going? Have you sorted out everything? The company shrugged its shoulders, it's Chinese New Year, what else can I do? The ship girl branch is in the east, and most of the ship girls are British and American. They basically celebrate Christmas and the New Year is not a problem for them. They mainly deal with the government departments and various companies that they deal with on weekdays. Except for the necessary functional departments, all of them have holidays. Even if something happens, you can't find anyone, unless the deep-sea ship girl suddenly appears, and that's the battle group's problem. Sugu asked curiously, When will your vacation end? It's not that Christmas isn't particular, but many girls still follow the local customs and look forward to a reunion year. There are no admirals or relatives, so it's just right for a few ship girlfriends to get together. Be careful with invitations from admirals, they all have bad intentions. The kanji branch also holds events, but they are not so elaborate and grand. There are also many ship girls who may take the opportunity to rest or travel, certainly not to domestic attractions. The company said, "We will let it go as long as the country lets it go, and for how many days?" According to the national regulations. "Isn't that just a few days?" Sugu said. "Are you so stingy? At least we should put it on the Lantern Festival. After the Lantern Festival dinner, everyone can find something to do, and then get ready to start work." Sugu just said it casually, but he still knew a little bit. From Helena's mouth, she used to be a subordinate of the company in the command team, and there were various ways. The benefits of the ship girl branch are very good and the salary is high, especially for the members of the combat team, but their work is also dangerous. There is no nominal charge for 3 meals a day, and they are quite generous. Anyway, all food and accommodation are reimbursed. Unless there is an important moment and you want to take leave, even if it is just for a week, it is just a matter of asking for leave. It will definitely be approved and it will still be paid leave. "When will your town hall be on holiday again?" the company asked. Missouri interrupted, "We don't have any work in the town hall. Every day is a holiday. We can have fun as we want. In terms of welfare benefits, it is definitely second to none among all the town halls." Wang Po was selling melons and boasting about herself. Sugu followed up and said, "This is the garrison that every ship girl in the world dreams of joining. Fortunately, Leipzig is not here. There is a lot of work in their warehouse. Even if they call for help, they have been busy for 2 days, otherwise she would definitely have something to say." Enterprise's shoulders slumped. "I said you and your wife are shameless. Time is not waiting for me. The best garrison in the world is waiting for you. When are you going to join the company?" Missouri said. "Have you found anyone to take your place?" Sugu heard from Missouri that the garrison is now not far from a successful salvage enterprise. It took several years and countless methods were used, including best friends and sisters, and even the female kitchen god was considered, but unfortunately it didn't have much use. She is indeed an old-timer in the American style. There is no one who doesn't sell face, but she is just an old nanny. Finally seeing the light of day, the only problem was that she couldn't trust the ship girl branch, and she still couldn't find an heir. "When did I say I would join your garrison?" Enterprise was still a little arrogant. As soon as she finished speaking, she found Missouri staring closely at her. She felt a little guilty and looked away at the roof of the complex. She didn't know who was flying a kite there. "The kite is a big centipede. Yorktown and the Hornets think of you every day," Missouri said. "Those two idiots." Enterprise said, "Do you expect me to join the town government and wipe their butts all day long? To be honest, I have met a lot of York City and Bumblebee over the years. York City is a gentle and considerate sister, yet strong, and will move forward no matter what dangers she faces. Bumblebee is chic and handsome, and occasionally a little bit childish, after all, a lovely sister." Enterprise shook his head, with a look of confusion on his face. "I'm just wondering, why did they become like that when they came to your garrison?" Sugu said, "Where did it become? A mindless idiot from York City, Saratoga, or someone who has a straight face and immediately gives up? He must be like you, Sue. Although he is brave sometimes, he just doesn't have a clue in his heart. Yong, it's chocolate, biscuits, or halva, just for Quincy or some little lowly to call me sister." Enterprises hate that iron cannot be transformed into steel. "Suguxiao, is it really okay to say this about your sister?" "What's wrong?" Enterprise said, then let out a long sigh. "As for Bumblebee, she has a really good mentality. As long as she has B-25, it doesn't matter even if the sky falls. Apart from eating and sleeping every day, or read novels and comics, never attack, or train, and live, well, live like a pig every day. I just saw her, and her butt seems to have grown a lot bigger. Sugu suddenly remembered something. Let me tell you, you are disdainful of others. In fact, in the eyes of Bumblebee, you are not as good as B-25. The corporate expression is indeed a bit exciting. Sister Enterprise. Suddenly there was a voice, and Enterprise turned his head in the direction of the sound, only to see Claxton waving. I miss you so much. Claxton hugged Enterprise. She never knew what being subtle was. It was for this reason that Sugu received critical attacks every day. Enterprise gently held Claxton in his arms and stroked her long, silky gray hair. How is Claxton doing here? The Admiral was very good to me, Claxton said. The company is worried. Did anyone do anything strange to you? Claxton was puzzled. What's the weird thing? Enterprise, what's your problem? Sugu clenched his fists. While his friends were still waiting, Claxton left quickly. Sugu looked at the little girl's back and watched her leave. He said proudly, now I am her favorite admiral. You are quite powerful. The company knew that Sugu had successfully salvaged the ship. Sugu showed a smile, spread his fingers, and slowly closed them one by one. Whether it's a submarine, a guided missile, a destroyer, or a battleship, as long as you are a little Lolita, no one can escape my grasp. He thought to himself that paying so much for Clarkston was not in vain. It was a bit heartless to say that domestic flowers were not as fragrant as wildflowers, although not like some companies, old users were not as good as dogs, at least for a long time. He is more attentive and considerate to her than others. Wow, Mr. Sugu, the little lowly killer, is so powerful. Enterprise's tone sounded like a little girl screaming when she meets the hero she longed for. She just clenched her hands into small fists and put them on her chest and jumped up and down. What she really meant was that it's a taunt. Of course I didn't have any idea at first, it was mainly for fun, but what if? Sugu said jokingly, so, company, how did the thing I asked you to do last time go? What's going on? The company didn't react for a moment, until a few seconds later, she looked expressionlessly at a shameful guy who didn't realize anything and was pushing his limits. I remember I said get out of here, so please be smart and tactful. Get as far away as possible. The company turned to Missouri, and she said, Missouri, let me tell you, your husband is really perverted. Missouri hugged Sugu's arm and said, I can't help it. If you marry a chicken, you will follow the chicken. If you marry a dog, you will follow the dog. The company bowed its head and held its forehead, again and again. It was really impossible to imagine that Missouri, who used to be like a witch, would be here today instead of playing with each admiral in the palm of his hand and stirring up trouble in the entire admiral circle. We didn't chat all day, and Sugu said goodbye to the company soon after. He was sitting on a stone pillar beside the lawn of the town hall, looking at Project M, who was wearing a black jacket and blonde hair with spiral curls. She even called for Christmas, so of course there was no problem this time. She was skateboarding, because there were several little Lolita girls behind her. He cheered, but gradually he couldn't find Bae, and his movements became more and more arrogant. Sugu suddenly remembered that song and hummed softly. Rubbing, rubbing, rubbing on this smooth ground. Friction, friction, like the devil's pace. Strangely enough, after he finished singing, Plan M didn't overturn. Of course she was still pretty good. However, it does not prevent him from thinking that this fool should be much easier to deal with than the Enterprise, but from what angle is better to start? Find an opportunity to ask Blucher. It seems that Admiral Hipper is more reliable. She may don't give a shit about it, just use the Fireflies as bargaining chips and you'll be fine. Hoo hoo. Suddenly the wind blew. Sugu felt a little cold and shrank his neck. He left the playground and walked into the complex, where he saw Richelieu in the studio. She was sitting by the window, with an easel in front of her, a square palette on her right, and a ball-tipped pen in her hand. Richelieu did not have many hobbies. I like to sit on a wicker chair in my room or library and read. I used to read romance novels a lot, but now I rarely read them and mostly read serious literature. Otherwise, she dances in the dance studio or teaches everyone to dance. Many people, including Lexington and Missouri, learn from her, including little Lolita. Xiaozai is clumsy, but she is very good at it unexpectedly. Her waist is soft, and Xiaozai does not have it. She has a dreamy figure, her long white hair is tied into two buns, and she wears a gym suit. She couldn't be more cute. The last thing is painting. Sister Li, what are you painting? Sugu walked into the studio and walked quietly behind Richelieu. He used to ask directly, but now the relationship has become closer, and he put his hands around her neck and rubbed her long golden hair. The Admiral is here. The drawing board was empty. Richelieu pressed Sugu's hands with one hand, and she said, "Don't know what to draw." "How about the lighthouse?" Sugu likes the tall lighthouse that stands in the governor's mansion very much. Even though the spiral staircase is difficult to climb, he often climbs up and sits there. Why? Anyway, it's not because he often kisses Helena, Colorado, Mutsu, etc. on it, or does other messy things, so you can often find Easter eggs in Kirov's photos. Richelieu said, "I have painted it several times." Sugu looked through the window and said, "The sea is beautiful under the sunset. I just painted yesterday, and I don't want to paint today." Sugu thought for a moment and said, "Otherwise, you'd better draw me, your darling." "Okay," Richelieu said, "please ask the Admiral to be a model." "It's better not to, I can't sit still." Sugu let go of Richelieu's neck and moved a bench to sit next to her. He was self-aware and could not bear to sit quietly. In the past, volunteering to be a model, Richelieu had to be asked several times each time if he could take a rest. "I still remember that the Admiral said he wanted to be my nude model in addition to the serious side of a knight. Richelieu also has a romantic French girl side, and he is usually passionate every night. It's too cold in winter now, so summer will definitely come." Sugu is the king of strong mouth. In the past, he would dare to say anything risque, but when he actually does it, he will immediately give in. Just like countless times of bold words, only children do multiple choice questions, and adults don't. No one should be left behind. There are only a dozen wedding ships now, and the progress is very slow. Richelieu chuckled. Sugu's hand smiled. He walked around the studio and saw Claxton's works on the desk in the corner. There were little beavers, dolphins, Fletcher, the paintings were quite rough, and there was Siggs. Compared with sitting on the swing and Thatcher riding the slide, there was actually no picture of himself. He thought to himself, he used to say that he would draw 1,000 pictures of himself, but now he has forgotten it. He must be punished well, such as sleeping with him at night. Sugu passed by the bookshelf. On the bookshelf, in addition to teaching the human body structure, the tips of sketching and many other books on painting techniques, there were also painting reference books such as The Garden and The Book of Flowers. He picked up a book. I opened Destroyer Knowledge. As a ship girl, I usually like to draw some battleships, so I put a similar book on it and almost subconsciously said, "Richelieu, draw that one." "What? Isn't it Chinese New Year?" "How about the door god?" Sugu said, "there is Yukikaze on the left and Shiger on the right. The two of them are holding couplets. The left is auspicious and the house is safe. The house on the right is safe." Richelieu said, "I have never seen Shiger." Sugu raised the Destroyer Knowledge in his hand. In addition to pictures of real battleships, there were also pictures of ship girls. "It sometimes rains here, and the one wearing a hood and holding a fan squinted his eyes. It looks very good. Richelieu knew what Sugu was talking about. When the time comes, stick it on the admiral's door. As expected, it's better not to give it a try, Sugu said. Let's go with the Persian cat Bismarck and the lion. Richelieu said, I have already started painting, Swafeng. The next day, the door gods Yukikaze and Shijir posted a sign on Sugu's door. This was New Year's Eve. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 931. To welcome the new year, cleaning your house is essential. Some people finish their work early and wait quietly for the new year. Some people have just started, and the time is definitely enough. In fact, no one is checking. It is enough if you think it is okay. There is no need to clean up at all. Clean the ceiling and clean the floor. Girls are sometimes sloppier than boys. The clothes thrown away include stuff your underwear into the closet, put your shoes on the shoe rack, put the books on the bookcase. It's almost enough to do these things. Some people were indifferent, and even saw their sister busying around, sweeping the floor next to them, reluctant to move her position, and had to scream before they walked away feebly and grumbled. I won't criticize anyone by name here. There are now more than 100 people in the Tuileries mansion, close to 200. This number is second to none among all the Tuileries mansions. It may be more than the number of people in many Tuileries mansions combined. You can usually do whatever you want, but the New Year's Eve dinner must be sumptuous no matter what. It is really not simple. For the work, the canteen started preparing early. Many people helped, including the Japanese team. Shokaku, Fuzu, Mutsu, Kaohsiung, etc. were all good players. Obviously, when faced with a strong challenge, everyone needed to put aside their past grudges. However, a large part of the people are completely parallel imports, and Changchun will only be a disservice. Akagi and Quincy are food tasters, the self-righteous Long Xiang is pointing and annoying, and there are a few people headed by London who are ready to make a move and secretly plan what. Scharnhorst really likes Eastern culture. She did not help in the kitchen. She sat at the stone table outside the warehouse and cut paper. Of course, it was too complicated to cut out the patterns, but there was no problem with the word, one for each person. Just right on the window. There is a saying that she has long golden hair tied up, a beautiful tassel hairpin, ruby earrings, and a peony red cheongsam with high forks, which is really delicious. Anyway, every time Sugu passed by, it was difficult to look away. If he hadn't been so busy, he would have sat down next to him. In the afternoon, I started posting couplets, starting from the front and back doors of the town hall and going to each person's room. Saratoga cheerfully commanded, the left side is a little higher, the right side is a little higher, it seems about right. Atlanta crossed his chest with one hand and held his chin in a fist with the other hand. He nodded with all his thoughts in mind, I think he should be shorter. Quam said, it seems like a horizontal batch is missing. Sugu just opened his mouth, but before he could say a few words, Saratoga interrupted him, Richelieu put so much effort into painting it. My brother-in-law cannot refuse. Sugu looked at the girl and said with intention, as if you don't live here. He opened his mouth and was speechless for a moment, at least she didn't. In short, Richelieu spent most of a day painting the door gods Yukikaze and Shijir like this and pasted them on his door. The tables in the cafeteria were put together into a long table and covered with tablecloths. Soon it's night, sumptuous delicacies are put on the table, and the firecrackers are set off before eating. Everyone sat down amidst the crackling sound of firecrackers. The seat next to Sugu naturally belonged to Lexington. She was the secretaryship and she was the eldest lady. Adults are free to do whatever they want. It's a special day, and children don't care. Changchun has a full glass of vodka. Unexpectedly, Zhixin did not accompany Firefly, but sat next to his sisters, who are now the 6th Destroyer Team Xiaoxiang Leiden. He looked at the juice in his sister's cups and didn't know how to say, "I don't want to drink juice." The three sisters Deutsch, Scheer, and Space sat side by side, each with a large glass of beer. The beer was full of foam. They had to take a sip quickly to avoid wasting it. Although she had lived in this world for so many years after waking up, Enterprise half understood it. She curiously asked Sugu, "Aren't there any dumplings?" "There are no dumplings, we are not interested in eating dumplings." Sugu looked at the middle of the long table. There was a bald eagle there. He wanted to say that pets were not allowed on the table. There was also a white-haired girl Essex. On her hand was her sister CV-16, wearing a knitted sweater. Of course it's not like a raider with a slit on the chest. It's a good dumpling with a thin skin and big filling. She's the only one who eats dumplings on New Year's Eve. Can Yuxian still make bacon? Plan M is not very good at chopsticks and has a silver fork in his hand. Now that the governor has money, he can use a little care. I made it. Blucher is actually good at housekeeping and cooking. She is an absolutely good wife. There is just one problem. It tastes good. I can guarantee that there is no problem with all the dishes. Plan M is hesitant. I have been working with him for many years and have seen him many times. Blucher still looks very fierce when waving the big iron anchor on the ship. Admiral, red envelope. For Leipzig, the most important thing during the new year is the red envelope. Every year she gets impatient and starts shouting early, not knowing what being reserved is, for fear that Sugu will forget. Although there were many more people, there was nothing noteworthy about the red envelope distribution process, just like in previous years. Saratoga said, "Thank you, brother-in-law." Kent hugged the ferocious tiger, "Thank you, Admiral. The company is quite happy to receive the red envelope. You can tell how much it is by feeling the thickness, so just be considerate." As the head of the ship girl branch for many years, she never takes anything she shouldn't and takes absolutely everything she should. There is basically nothing she needs to spend money on at ordinary times. She is a little rich woman. Wisconsin took the red envelope and accepted it directly. She is the town hall accountant and knows all about money issues. "I won't need it." Nagato was a little hesitant when he saw the red envelope being handed over. She was not so quick to recognize Sugu and join the guardhouse. It's not like Zeppelin had the confidence at the beginning. As an instructor of the academy, she has considerable influence, including contributing a lot to the establishment and normal operation of the garrison. However, she has been receiving help, so she feels very pressured and difficult to repay. Coming from someone's opinion, it is possible to agree with one's own body. Mutsu put his arm around her shoulders, "Take it." Generally, a lottery is a must-have part of a company's annual dinner. The town government also has one, but it is an event that only started this year. Sugu stood on the lottery platform, patting a big box in front of him. Whoever I read out the name comes up. Naturally, there are no mobile phones, tablets, or a 3-day trip to the Maldives for 4 people. There are only things that fit this world, such as luxury watches, necklaces, bracelets, oversized dolls, etc. In fact, Missouri means that instead of treating these as prizes, it is better to add more interesting things, various admiral services. The country has supported the country for 150 years, and has fought righteously and righteously. Today, no, as an admiral for 5 years, man 6, the time has come to sacrifice, but Sugu has everything he wants. Wisconsin sat next to Missouri. She glanced at a little maid not far away. The little maid was not wearing a maid uniform today. Her long golden hair was draped over her shoulders. She wore a beige scarf and a woolen jacket and asked softly, "I heard that the counter-attack ring was obtained in this kind of lottery." Missouri nodded and responded. Wisconsin asked, "Does it have to be a wedding ceremony to get the ring?" "It's up to you. If you don't want to be a wedding ship, no one is forcing you, Missouri said, as long as you know that in our garrison, the admiral is the meat. Wisconsin said, I really don't know why so many people like him. Why? Why, Missouri said, excellent. Wisconsin took a deep look at Missouri and decided to change the question, is there still a ring this time? Missouri said, no. Why? Missouri hesitated to explain, it was before, and now is now. Do you want to add a few more wedding ships to trouble yourself? Last time, I asked to join them, and it was fun. This time I didn't suggest it, maybe someone wanted to, and many people think that since they are embarrassed to bring it up, then they are embarrassed. Sister, you look like someone with vested interests. Wisconsin was silent for a moment, then slowly said, I know that there is no right or wrong, no justice and evil in this world, only the butt determines the head, and the butt sits on where are you, what are you thinking about? Missouri smiled and moved her brown wavy hair, I called you, come up. Not long after, Wisconsin took his hand out of the lottery box and opened the note. He saw that it read, servant for a day. He asked curiously, what is this? Admiral Sue will be my manservant. Can I give you any orders? Wisconsin actually knew what he meant. Sugu was really a little worried. Apart from being a real slut, this girl from Wisconsin was also a very evil person. She would not hesitate to put herself in danger in order to have fun. Her voice was not very loud, but she is present in every rhythm of the town guard mansion. It was Wichita's turn again, and her eyes lit up when she opened the note. Admiral, if I draw this, can I really ask for anything? Of course not, Sugu thought to himself, if he nodded, he would definitely be eaten clean. Until the end of the lottery, Sugu was really a little doubtful whether the relationship between the door gods Yukikaze and Shijir was posted on his door, and each time it happened to be the one who won the appropriate reward. Dinner ended with a toast. Of course, a few people are different. After all, it's rare to celebrate the new year. New Orleans doesn't care about Quincy, so she can eat whatever she likes. She just looks at King Yi with her eyes and doesn't act rashly. Daifeng focuses on desserts after meals. Akage welcomes everyone who comes, and there are many empty plates in front of her. Kaga is just a drinker. No matter Changchun, Xingxin, or Kirov, none of them can beat him. Others were playing cards when they should be playing, mahjong when they were supposed to be playing, and some were warming up around the brazier. Now in February, the weather is still a bit cold, so Japanese-style rooms have kotetsu prepared early. Sugu usually likes to go to their room, curl up in the kotetsu, peel oranges, eat them, and chat. In Daifeng's room, I heard her say that she had no ideas for writing novels, so everyone started talking about what they usually dreamed about, which was the most interesting. I still remember that dream clearly. There is a bridge. Every time I walk by it, I see a huge shadow swimming around under the bridge. Later, I heard someone say, who is that of yours? Your wife from a previous life, your lover who died of illness, or some other mess. This I can't remember. Anyway, it ended up being a fish, and then it turned into a person. That person was Helena. Even if you ask me, I don't know why it's her, not Lexington, not Missouri. In the end, a conspiracy emerged. It turned out that the person was plotting against Helena, wanting to use her to make elixirs or something. The two of us fled everywhere, hiding in bridge caves, sitting on piles of rocks by the river. Talking and talking, talking about dreams within dreams, serial dreams, half awake and half dreams. I don't know how to talk about a movie, about a fox getting married in the sun and rain, straying into a peach garden and dancing like spring, a snow girl rescuing someone in a snowstorm. The little girl was playing with fireworks inside the town hall. Handheld spray fireworks are the most popular. The only problem is that it is difficult to hold one for 10 seconds. Then it was strictly prohibited to swing around, like a Jedi Knight beating around. Fireworks called rockets were inserted into the ground, lit with fuses, and disappeared with a swish sound, or they were still in place. Fireworks that looked like moths spun and spewed sparks into the sky. Cone-shaped fireworks stood on the ground, and everyone danced around them. It is strictly forbidden to hold the sky cannon, but everyone holds it with their hands. It's easy to get into trouble if you hold it in your hand. This guy Lan was really making trouble. He waved the sky cannon and hit the Prince of Wales. Before the Prince of Wales could speak, she yelled "I'm sorry" and ran into the darkness, which made the Prince of Wales quite concerned. Am I that terrible? During the Chinese New Year, no matter how crazy you are, you can blow up the town hall or make an exception. Seeing Nagato playing with fireworks, Sugu suddenly remembered that he and his reputation were looking for Veneto, where he met a King Kong, who said that if he had a chance to play in the East, he would definitely come to the governor's mansion to visit. However, there has been no news until now. It is indeed a polite word, but can that energetic fool really use polite words? Anyway, who knows the reason? Although there have been many successes, there have also been many failures. Lafitte was very excited. "Admiral, whenever we release that one, that's the one." Sugu couldn't refuse Xiaozai, and neither did Lafitte. He said, "If you want to let him go, you can let him go now. I mean the biggest one. Next year. Of course the grand finale fireworks cannot be set off now, they must be left for the end. Claxton, have you heard the story about the Neon Beast?" Someone whispered, "The Admiral is showing off again." The voice was not lowered deliberately. When Sugu heard it, he suddenly felt a little sad. Here, right here. A few people did not run to the beach. It was too far away and it would take a while to walk out of the town hall. They set up a rack on the basketball court not far from the canteen and prepared for a barbecue. After resting for a while, Sugu felt hungry again, so he took the opportunity to eat 2 chicken wings. No matter Santiago complained, he brushed oil, honey, pepper, and so on, and prepared carefully for a long time. It's Chinese New Year. Sugu murmured to himself, suddenly thought of something, and sat down around the guardrail of the bench in the flower garden. "Admiral." Sugu turned around and saw Yuxian. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 932. The moon coated Yuxian's body with a silvery glow. Dinner needs to be prepared during the day. No matter how careful you are, you will inevitably get oil stains. At this time, Yuxian is wearing stain-resistant clothes. He only waits for the dinner to be completely over before taking a shower and changing into new clothes. So it's a pity. If she had changed into the black high-cut cheongsam that she usually wears, or a tang suit with a chest wrap and a streamer on her hand, she would really be a fairy walking on earth. "Yuxian, what's the matter?" Sugu just glanced at Yuxian, then withdrew his gaze and turned to the little loli playing with fireworks. "It's nothing," Yuxian said casually, imitating Sugu and sitting down next to him, "it's just that the Admiral seems a little." Sugu smiled, "What's the point?" Yuxian Ding looked at Sugu, but she didn't say anything and asked, "What are you looking at, Admiral?" Sugu saw U-47 and U-505 beating each other around with the remaining cannons as sticks, and it was difficult to tell the winner. "I remember when we were kids, we used to play with sky cannons like that. Every time we finished playing, we would hit each other like them. Well, I still remember that winter was very cold, but after playing with sky cannons, it was very hot. Every time it's like holding a hot water bottle, you have to hold it cold." Yuxian saw a group of little Lolita waving fireworks, waving them round, or running around. Changchun finally finished drinking, Her face turned red and she came out with some fireworks in her hand. She said, "The Admiral looks like them when they are the same age, they must be very skinny." Sugu said, "I don't know if it counts as skinny, but it should be fine. I just like to walk around, so I always get a 10. Yuxian said, "Now I am fair." "It's okay," Sugu said, "anyway, I like to wander around, pick up cicada shells to sell, and catch cicadas. Now I don't dare to catch them. I also like to dig out birds' nests. Once I found a bird in the reeds by a lake. When I took out the eggs, I found that the big bird was flying in the sky, watching us." Yuxian asked curiously, "Did you pay for it in the end?" Sugu replied, "I took it out. The egg is so small and oval-shaped." Yuxian said, "How cruel. I was still young at that time." "Well, now that I think about it, it's a bit worrying," Sugu added. "It's strange that when you dig out a bird's nest, you dig out a bird's nest, but the swallow's nest doesn't move. At that time, the eaves of our house where there was a swallow's nest, and I almost watched them build it with mud in their mouths. But later on when they built a new house, there was no way to tear it down." Yuxian said, "It seems that the tea house we used to run also had one. In addition to walking around, I also like to swim in the river in the summer, several times a day." Sugu said, "I remembered that my classmates took us to the river and said they would teach us how to swim. I felt that I could do it once I got in the water. I didn't need to learn at all. Of course it was just the dog paddle and breaststroke. Later, I heard people say that they were landlubbers, or they learned to swim specifically, and I didn't dare to open their eyes when diving, which I still don't understand." Yuxian said, listening to what the Admiral said, he seemed very proud of himself for being able to learn without a teacher. "Yes, I'm very proud. But it took me a long time to learn how to ride a bicycle when I was young. It's not like some people can master it as soon as they get started." Sugu said, "By the way, does Yuxian know how to ride a bicycle?" Yuxian replied, "I know a little bit." Consultant Su, "A little bit, yes or no?" "I don't know either," Yuxian said, "it seems that I have never ridden one before." Sugu thought for a while and said, "It's hard to imagine Yuxian riding a bicycle. If Yuxian is sitting sideways on the back seat of a bicycle, he can barely do it." Fireworks and firecrackers continued. "Rodney is a little lady, she holds a cold firework and shakes it gently." Sullivan held a string-like firework, and the string crackled as it burned. Seeing that only a small piece was left after burning, he quickly threw it away. Sugu suddenly said, "Yuxian, did I say that?" "What did you say?" "It seems that I haven't told Yuxian," Sugu said to himself. There were too many people in the guarding mansion. He told this person and that person about one thing, and finally he was confused. "When I was a child, our family had a fireworks shop, and then selling fireworks." No. Selling fireworks is like setting up a small stall to sell fireworks during the New Year. My house happens to be in the busiest part of our countryside, and there are many guests. The problem is that it is difficult to eat the New Year's Eve dinner." Sugu said, "To be honest, I can't remember it either." "Yes, or because my mother often says that adults like to tell embarrassing things about children. Anyway, someone came to our house to buy firecrackers, and I was standing next to it. Does Yuxian know what I said? My fireworks are definitely not cheap and affordable. Of course, there are no twists and turns, no counter-routines." Sugu said, I tell the guests, our firecrackers are dumb firecrackers, don't buy them from us, buy them elsewhere." Yuxian smiled slightly, "Did the Admiral get beaten?" "Definitely not. So the last person asked for firecrackers." "I should have it," Sugu said, "people at that time generally didn't know how to do business, so they could make a fortune no matter what they did. We were the only fireworks shop nearby. When I grew up, the distance from the station to our house was at most 200 mi, there were at least 5 fireworks shops, and it was difficult to do business, so we stopped selling fireworks later. He thought to himself that as entertainment becomes more and more developed, and every household has TVs and computers, even if everyone basically stays at home during the Chinese New Year and rarely goes out, there will be no Chinese New Year atmosphere at all during the Chinese New Year. The lack of guests is the biggest problem. Yuxian asked, why did the admiral say that, saying that his firecrackers are dumb firecrackers? I don't know, Sugu said, I was really young at that time. My mother said that I didn't dare to play with firecrackers. But the next year, I held firecrackers with tongs and held charcoal firecrackers. Later, I was not afraid of anything. Fortunately we don't have sewers or septic tanks to blow up. Yuxian said, think about what the admiral looked like when he was a child. Sugu said, I'm not boasting, I was very cute when I was a child, with a round face. Someone appeared at the door of the cafeteria. Sugu was surprised, has Quincy eaten so early? And Akagya? Quincy might be having fun, Sugu said, Akagya probably wants a little more. Consultant Su, how many dishes did you cook in total? Not counting. You, Japanese people, and German people are also joining in the fun. Sugu looked at the lights in the cafeteria. I think of our family, there are chickens and fish every year, and almost no one eats them, just for the sake of having more than enough every year. Wait until the second and third day of the Lunar New Year to be fried and then braised. There will definitely be sausages and bacon, and then there will be pork belly, egg buckle, and stuffed dumplings, which are nothing new. Sugu continued. My dad is basically preparing for the New Year's Eve dinner. He can't listen to my mom interrupting, how to do this, and how to do this. It's not that my mom is like Long Xiang. She has a bad mouth if she doesn't do anything. She has to be responsible for looking after the store. My brother and I basically don't move anyway. I think of my brother again, who asks me to eat at his place from time to time. He likes to eat a pork loin, plus green pepper and preserved egg, or mapo tofu. Mapo tofu is tofu mashed, and then put the purchased mapo tofu. The ingredients are the same every time, and they always ask me if they taste good, and I can't say anything. He likes to play cards. Every time he loses, he says he will never play again, and then he starts again, but his level is just passable. He always goes out to play cards during the New Year, and every time he worries about whether he can make it back before setting off the firecrackers in the New Year. My family, they start setting off firecrackers as soon as midnight, but some people set off firecrackers before midnight. My brother and I have a good relationship, unlike some families. On New Year's Day, my dad and his friends like fishing, but strangely, they can hardly catch anything on this day. My brother still plays cards or sleeps, and the prerequisite is that he plays all night. As for me, I basically stay at home, like in Beijing. I am a homebody. I may also be looking for someone to play with. Basically, I have to be called by others. I have always had few contacts. Sugai, I couldn't stop talking and talked a lot. Yuxian looked away from Sugu's face, and she said, I remember that after I joined the town guard as a raider, I heard about the raiders joining the town as soon as I joined the town. The gifts given after consumption in the market were obviously we met in the market, and then once the Golden Wind and Jade Dew met, they defeated countless people in the world. Sugu said, hey, you may have used the wrong poem. Not bad. It's a lot different, okay. Yuxian said, but if you have to say it, you can say it is a gift from God. Sugu thought to himself that he had originally made up his mind not to spend money in the game, but after thinking about the strongest light mother, you only need to recharge any amount of money to get it, so the lowest level, who knows, I regret this first time, ever since the golden body of Buppo was broken, there was no way to turn back from the broken pot to the broken pot. It was really controlled by the brain, starting from the repair, then to the bed, and finally to the skin one by one. Before she grew up, Yuxian was also a young girl. Yuxian said, I have experienced a lot, not much at all. I just remember frying fish every day. Although they are enemies, I feel sorry for them. Their training level has improved little by little. Then I grew up and became what I am now, and it must be really hard to look sad every day. Sugu said, no, it would be better to say that he is particularly charming. Yuxian shook his head. It might be very charming to appear once in a while, but if you are not happy every day, anyone will be unhappy if you see it. History has passed. From Changchun, we can see that the country has become stronger. It is not like that in normal times. Occasionally a person still cannot help himself. Yuxian said, but it's much better because the admiral is here. Sugu said, really? But the admiral later left again. Yuxian said, since the admiral left, everyone and I left, traveled to many places, and finally opened a small tea house. For several years, every Mid-Autumn Festival and New Year, watching other people celebrate the festival, everyone, I'm not in the mood, although I eat mooncakes and have a sumptuous New Year's Eve dinner, but that's it. It's great that the admiral is finally back, otherwise I don't know what I would do. Yuxian said, yeah, cooking for someone you like is completely different from cooking for guests. Sugu felt as if something was wrong. Yuxian said, as a ship girl, I have no parents or relatives, only an admiral. Among Chongqing, Ninggai, Pinghai, and Changchun, the admiral is indeed more important. He is a relative, a friend, a belief, a beacon, a harbor, a lighthouse. Many, many. I don't know where the admiral's home is. The admiral always said that it is in a very far away place and there is no way to go back. Yuxian looked at Sugu's face. She had already discovered it. She paused and said, I want to say that we treat the admiral as our family member, so please, admiral, treat us as our family member and have us. I have always regarded you as family. Don't worry, Yuxian. It's fine. Sugu raised his head and glanced at Yuxian. He straightened his legs and put his hands on the guardrail of the stool. He leaned back and looked up at the night sky. The moon and stars were sparse. Think about it, he usually has a cold or fever, or somewhere. After the fall, everyone expressed their concern and expressed their concern with a smile. Just fall into the water, get up again and enter this strange world. At first I was at a loss, and to some extent, I was heartless. I quickly accepted the reality and found a job to settle down. It's just that occasionally one night, when I think of my parents, brothers, relatives, and friends huddled in the corner, I will burst into tears. I will have a dream while sleeping, and I will wake up the next day and wet the pillow with tears. The abandoned Toot-Larry mansion met a small house, the golden finger gift bag was smashed, and the Toot-Larry mansion in the game became a reality. Suddenly there were many ship girls who would never leave. The beautiful girls who only dared to think about in the past became wedding ships, one by one. The cute little loli has her own career and family. The main reason is that as time has been delayed, it has been several years now, and indeed, my thoughts have gradually faded away a lot. However, during the Mid-Autumn Festival when the moon is full and people gather together, whether they have money or not, they go home to celebrate the new year. At this time, they still can't help but think of the past. Yuxian asked, really? Of course it's real, Sugu said, it's more real than real money and silver. If possible, since they are relatives, Yuxian said, Admiral, just say whatever you want, don't keep it in your heart. If you need anything, just rely on us and Sister Yuxian. I have relied on you enough. There is basically no need to take care of things in the guardhouse. Just eating, drinking and having fun is enough. Sugu thought of something, also, it's not Sister Yuxian. It doesn't matter if she's younger or younger, she's good at everything, Yuxian said, although it's not as good as Lexington. Yuxian is worse than her in some ways. It seems hard to find. She is such a perfect wife, legs fairy, at least her legs are better than hers, she should be more beautiful. Pretty. It turns out that Yuxian also has a playful side. Admiral, do you want to touch me? I discovered it. Chongqing also said that when the Admiral looked at me, he looked at my face first, and then his legs. Sugu hesitated. I wonder how it compares to corporate legs. Sugu explained, that's just a bet. Eastern Scharnhorst, Western Wisconsin, Southern Enterprise, North Lyon, Yuxian. Do you know this too? Yuxian replied, I know. The two of them were in the governor's mansion, which was not a deserted place. It was more lively than ever at this time, and there was a sudden sound from the little lowly's body. Admiral, play with fireworks. Sugu stood up, let's go, Yuxian, let's play with fireworks. Admiral, go. Aren't you going? Not going. Let's play together. Sugu hesitated for a moment and took Yuxian's hand. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 933. One more song. One more song. Many people waved and cheered, and if they added a light stick, they were no different from ardent fans of the celebrity. In fact, they were just heckling. Okay, King Yi held the microphone with a helpless look on his face, cleared his throat, and started singing along with a little dance. In fact, she liked singing and performing, but she was just a little arrogant. Kinyagaza didn't know where he got the tambourine from, shaking it with one hand and cheering for his sister. Quincy, you see Aoba is so arrogant, go ahead, kill her and bring glory to our American department. There is never a shortage of people in this world who make trouble, Wichita said. Remember Quincy, you used to be at the frontline headquarters, I guess he's also a heavy-hitting idol. Quincy held a roast duck leg and watched Aoba standing on the small stage. The so-called stage was just a small circle-sized place with the sound as the center. He was unmoved at all and let Wichita no matter how hard you push or persuade. Wichita turned to New Orleans, chicken leg burger, please persuade me. New Orleans didn't seem to hear. She stared at her sister Quincy, holding a tissue in her hand, for fear that she would wipe her hands with her clothes. It was a new one, and it was white and could not withstand stains. She felt that her sister was doing the same as a nanny. If I had known this, why would I have to rely on the Admiral for life and death that night? I would be comfortable today. Scharnhorst crossed her legs, and her long legs were exposed from the high-cut cheongsam, exposed to the air. Because the weather was a bit cold, she still wore white silk stockings, but her charm was not diminished at all. She said, watermelon. Space sat opposite Scharnhorst, lying on the table. His cute round face seemed to be flattened, and he raised his hands high, winter melon. Scharnhorst said without hesitation, pumpkin. Sci-fi hesitated for a moment, his expression a little confused, pumpkin. Bullying children is so fun, no wonder the Admiral enjoys it. Scharnhorst said, you are wrong, drink. Sci-fi was dissatisfied, where did I go wrong? You said pumpkin, Scharnhorst said, but there's no pumpkin. Yes, that one, round, long, very tender, the best in soup, well, okay, no Sipe couldn't quibble. She picked up the big wine glass with half of it left in it. Drink a glass of beer in one go. Turn the glass upside down with the rim facing the ground to indicate that there is no wine left. Speaking of which, Sugu doesn't like drinking. He doesn't smoke or drink, and he doesn't touch pornography, gambling, or drugs. He is absolutely a good man. He has a problem that he has never understood. You said that wine is a good thing, but you don't understand the benefits of wine. There is no problem if you like to drink, but why do you make the loser drink, and the person who is late for the banquet punishes himself with a drink? Continue. Scharnhorst watched Spey finish her drink, and she smiled. Sci-fi wiped her mouth and wiped away the foam. She refused to admit defeat. Continue. Scharnhorst thought for a moment. Horse. Then I'll start, Scharnhorst said. Zebra. The carriage, Spey said. Hippo. Road. Scharnhorst laughed. Red deer. Spey reminded, I just said that. You mean the road, I mean the red deer, you red deer. Scharnhorst pinched Spey's cheek, thinking about the majestic battle cruiser, whose equipment parameters are worse than that of the heavy cruiser, a pitiful pocket model. Kagami was drinking alone, one plate after another of sake. She looked at the two of them, and then at the passing maid Sheng Sheng. Today, Sheng Sheng made an exception and did not wear a maid uniform. She was dressed like a noble lady. She thought to herself that this person was so frightened after hearing about Sheng Sheng. Sinking, one of the two sisters saw the reputation shouting 29 Nelsons and ran very fast, obviously two red deer. Nothing happened. I washed the dishes. After playing with fireworks for a while, and still having serious business to do, Yuxian stood at the intersection from the cafeteria to the kitchen. He ate the most alone and also ate the last. Akagi still looked dignified and elegant, not leaning anywhere to touch his belly. All the dishes and chopsticks on the long table had been put away. Everyone was probably washing them, so I was too late. Go ahead. Sugu said. He watched Yuxian leave and suddenly felt his mouth was dry. As long as I ran fast enough, loneliness couldn't catch up with me. I thought that if I ran really fast, I shouldn't chase her. But in the end, I caught her and hugged her hard, so I didn't suffer at all. Sugu returned to his original seat. There was a large bottle of Coke on the table, but there was no cup. He found Beizai curled up on the seat holding a comic, and there was a large glass of Coke in front of her. Beizai replied, mine. I'll take a sip. No. Don't be so stingy. Sugu's hand did not pause. He was not asking, just informing, I drank. Sugu finished drinking the Coke and rubbed Beizai's face. In the game, the lonely queen of the north who had a sad but strong face was transformed into a portrait. She hadn't appeared a few times in several years, only the dead otaku girl. Don't read comics all the time, find more people to play with. It's so annoying. Beizai said, the admiral is like a sister. Sugu reconstructed what happened in his mind. After dinner, Beizai definitely wanted to go back to his room. She was a homebody, so Bismarck held her back and kept saying that it was rare for everyone to be together and you couldn't leave. In the end, he had no choice but to stay. Enterprise, can you still play mahjong? Sugu walked to the window. There was also a card table here. Of course, after living in the East for so many years, this is just a small thing. When the company takes a picture of a chicken, it makes a bang bang sound. When playing mahjong, you must have momentum. The louder the sound, the better. Missouri wore a turtleneck sweater to outline her slim figure. Wisconsin's left elbow rested on the table to support the side of her face. Her figure was a bit pitiful. Hindenburg only wore a white shirt, which was a bit thin, and black lace underwear was looming. Sugu couldn't help but look at him a few more times, until he noticed that Missouri turned to him. His eyes quickly converged, and he didn't notice that someone was staring at him from the corner of his eye. Hindenburg, aren't you cold? His body trembled, and Hindenburg said, it's cold. Consultant Sue, then why don't you wear 2 more clothes? Hindenburg said nothing. Wisconsin said, does Admiral Sue want to participate in the strip game? Sugu finally knew that these 3 people had teamed up to bully Hindenburg. Of course, he had no idea of rescuing people in danger, and was even waiting to feast his eyes on them. It is said that even a silly elder sister grows wiser every time she eats. Now it is getting more and more difficult to bully her. Judging from her slightly red face, she must have been drunk before agreeing to this kind of game. In fact, he also knows very well that except in private, when everyone plays in this kind of situation, they will stop playing at the level of underwear. I don't understand. When girls swim at the beach in the summer, they naturally wear swimsuits. Some are conservative swimsuits, and most of them are revealing three-point bikinis. But at that time, they didn't know how to be shy. The archer fish and the big mackerel are nestled together. Opposite them is Shinano, and in the middle is a Go board. Of course, they are not playing Go, but backgammon. As soon as Sugu sat down next to them, the big mackerel immediately let go of the archer fish and lay in his arms. "Admiral, you are here. Consultant Su, aren't you going to play with fireworks?" The big mackerel replied, "I've played with it." Sugu gently held the big mackerel in his arms, thinking that after waiting for so many years, the fish would come home this year. There are fish every year, so tonight, no, which one is better to choose tomorrow morning? The cute big mackerel or the one with a better figure? I don't know whether it is intentional or not. It must be unintentional. I complain about the resistance on my chest during diving and swimming from time to time. Too big an archerfish. Sure enough, no one should be missing, let's do it together. Richelieu performed bartending in the corner. She has become more mature, generous, and confident since her marriage. The Prince of Wales sat nearby, holding a glass of red wine. The lion is also there, with her legs crossed, and she has the most aura. Looking for Hood, she teased with her fingers the balls of ginger and fish cakes curled up on the table. Comparing things, in comparison, Oscar stood on the window not far away and walked catwalk with his tail raised high. He looked quite, well, he was also fat and not elegant at all. Sugu almost subconsciously saw Washington, and she was in a confrontation with South Dakota. He was about to say a few words to them. Halfway through, he felt someone tap him on the shoulder. He looked to the left and saw no one. Looking to the right, his sister-in-law Saratoga was playing with fireworks outside. This was another sister-in-law. No, not the sister-in-law. Anyway, the short-haired and pretty Ruhi stood there, still looking like a girl, without any temperament of a young woman or a married woman. I saw it. Ruhi's voice was meaningful. Sugu remained calm. What did you see? I saw you and Yuxian. Ruhi deliberately prolonged his voice, leaving a large blank space for people to imagine, waiting for others to reveal their flaws. What's the problem between me and her? Suguxing sat upright. The two of them were really innocent, green onions mixed with tofu, everything was pure. He was a little regretful that he didn't cherish such a pair of peerless beautiful legs in front of him. I didn't regret it until I lost it. If I were given a chance to come back again, I would definitely not be so timid. Pretend. Ruhi poked his chest with his index finger. Keep pretending. Sugu had an innocent face. Don't shed tears until you see the coffin. Ruhi said, I saw you, you were holding Yuxian's hand. Sugu explained, I did hold her hand, but that was, what should I say? No matter how I called her, she didn't want to play with the fireworks, so I had to drag her there. Ruhi tilted his head, really? Sugu said angrily, fake. Ruhi helped Sugu adjust his collar. Admiral, let me tell you. Sugu said, you're here again. I haven't said anything yet. I know what you want to say. 3 times a day. Sugu recalled carefully, it must be something else. You have looked down on your sister, take responsibility. Sister is gentle, kind, and beautiful. Sister is alone at night. Crying like don't be shameless. I said as long as you agree, sisters will make rice bowls and you have the nerve to say it. Since you know Ruhi complained, why did it take so long and you made no progress at all? Sugu said, this kind of thing can't be done reluctantly. Ziwihi murmured, Missouri, Richelieu, and Mutsu, another Yisen. Sugu said, I said, I have nothing to do with Yuxian, and Mutsu, she doesn't have a ring. Ziwihi frowned, Mutsu doesn't have a ring, but you have done everything. Sugu's eyes dodged, looking left and right. Ever rolled over the sheets? This really doesn't exist. Ruhi was always quick-witted, and he didn't know if this was a trap she had set in advance. You mean there are others? Sugu didn't say anything, otherwise the description would get darker and darker. Ziwihi snorted, anyway, Mutsu's naughty hooves can only be small. At the criticism meeting, Mutsu's sisters were called over one after another to survive, and this status was decided. Sugu said, I found that Mutsu seems to be really unpopular. Ruhi crossed his arms and looked at her with disdain, it's a shame to be associated with such a coquettish man. Why didn't you see your sister? The two sisters were always inseparable. Sugu asked curiously, where has she gone? Ziwihi replied, help in the kitchen. Time flies by and the night falls. At 10:30, Sugu saw Yuxian finishing his work. After taking a shower, he came over dressed in a bright red cheongsam. It was like the outfit in the game called Bixiang Hong Chuang, but the temperament was a little wrong, and it was black. The long hair was not tied up, and was draped casually on the shoulders, waiting for the wind to dry. Ruhi looked at the two of them, but she couldn't see the difference. Soon after midnight, everyone gathered on the basketball court. Hindenburg was intact. There was no underwear show. Instead, he put on a big windbreaker. After all, the stripping game is just for fun, not forced. After the firecrackers were set off, the fireworks exploded in the sky, and the fireworks were beautiful. Lexington stood beside Sugu, holding his hand tightly. She was the eldest wife, the most important position, and there was still time. As long as she wanted to, everything belongs to her, except Xiaozai. The company stayed in the governor's mansion for nearly a week before leaving. He kept saying that things went by so fast, but there was nothing he could do about it. As a minister, he had a lot of things to do. The deep-sea ship girl didn't have a holiday. When he got back, he had to give red envelopes to the little loli from the ship girl branch. Sir. Not a lot, anyway, just join in the fun. I have to say that it is not that simple to fish her out. Calling her to the governor's house to build a good impression on her would be considered as knowing her intentions, so there shouldn't be much problem in fishing the boat. After such a long battle, I don't care about the past few days. If you don't believe that someone will cut you off halfway, just set up a flag and don't ask for a slap in the face. King George V, Duke of York, Incomparable, Strasbourg, Rome, Empire, Skyhawk, St. George, Obanon, Converse, Dyson, Hillman, Tangerine, M2, Minekaze, Shiger, U-156, U-96, there are many more, try to collect them all, the world's #1 garrison. How can there be less ship girls? Sugu immediately received a look of disgust from the company. After chatting in the past few days, she learned about the company's ideas from various angles. She was not very satisfied with the status quo of the town government. She aimed to join the town government and worked hard to build the strongest town government. This was full of motivation. On the other hand, I am not prepared to train my older sister, Yorktown's sister Bumblebee, because it is hopeless. Another story happened a day after the company left.